Chapter 1685. What a pair of demon king father and son. They're too scary. Du Tingxian is also so strong. Everyone in the square was shocked. The demon king was already terrifying enough, but who would have thought that the demon king's father was also so shocking? On the stone platform, Moksha looked up, his eyes also flashing with electricity. In mid-air, Du Xiaofu looked at the thunder armor on his drunkard father and the thunder spear in his hand. His eyes twitched as he thought of the three treasures of Jinlei Tensei. It was rumored that Jinlei Tensei had three treasures, an armor, a weapon, and the 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian. The 9 revolutions divine Lei Lian could help him comprehend the mysteries of thunder whenever he wanted. Du Xiaofu guessed that the dazzling thunder spear and thunder armor in his drunkard father's hands might be the other 2 treasures of Jinlei Tensei. These are the thunder armor and thunder spear. They were left behind by your grandmaster, Jinlei Tensei. Feeling Du Xiaofu's gaze, Du Tingxian said to Du Xiaofu as he gradually withdrew the thunder armor and thunder spear into his body. Du Xiaofu smiled. It looked like his drunkard father had indeed received the true inheritance of Jinlei Tensei. Since his drunkard father's master was Jinlei Tensei, he was naturally one of Du Xiaofu's grandmasters. Drip, as the thunder armor was withdrawn, Du Xiaofu saw that his drunkard father's face was pale. His left palm was cracked and blood was flowing out. Dark red blood was also flowing out of the corner of his mouth. It was obvious that he had paid a huge price to kill Gongsun Wuji. Bang bang bang, there were still scattered sonic booms in the distant void, but everything was coming to an end. Legalism, school of vertical and horizontal, dragons, and ancient demon beasts saw that Qin Wudi, Long San, Gongsun Wuji, and the Sea Serpent King had either died or fled. They were already being slaughtered. Now, they felt even more despair. We are willing to submit. In the end, only 2 Grand Domain Realm Archean Remnant Demonic Beasts and several Sealed Domain Realm Archean Remnant Demonic Beasts remained. Under the persuasion of Dang Hu, Qi Long, Xiang Feng, Yun Zhan, and the others, they were willing to submit. All right, I accept. Du Xiaofu nodded and accepted the submission of these ancient demonic beasts. As for the disciples of the School of Dragons, Legalism, and School of Vertical and Horizontal, under the siege of the various major powers, all of them suffered a bloodbath. Not a single one of them managed to escape. Although the major forces and the desolate nation had paid a hefty price and lost many people, they all had life-saving talismans. Walala, the Phantom and the Blood Vine Demon took the opportunity to devour the evil blood aura in the void. These were the evil blood aura and remnant souls left behind by the School of Vertical and Horizontal, Legalism, and Dragons. To them, it was definitely a great benefit. Behind Mo Sha, there were quite a few pairs of eyes that were filled with demonic qi that were burning hot. To them, the baleful blood qi was also extremely beneficial. However, Moksha did not move, and neither did they. Father, how is Xiao Jing? In a corner of the square, Du Xiaofu came to Du Xiaojing's side. At this moment, Du Xiaojing was sitting cross-legged. His body was shrouded in dazzling purple lightning arcs and mysterious purple lightning talisman patterns. That was the Du family's thunder martial vein. There are some things related to the Du family. I'll tell you in detail later. Xiao Jing is fine. Instead, he has gained great benefits. He is awakening the Du family's hidden martial vein in his body, Du Tingxian said seriously. Du Xiaofu nodded and did not ask further. He had long felt that the Du family was not simple. From the martial vein in his body, he could tell that they were not a small family. Perhaps they had a glorious history. You are my father's father. Should I call you grandpa? But you are too young. Little Xingxing came to Du Xiaofu's side. She lifted her head and looked at Du Tingxian curiously. This little girl is not simple. Du Tingxian patted little Xingxing's head and smiled. Uncle Tingxian, Uncle Tingxian. Third uncle. Yi Zijin, Du Xiaoman, Du Yunlong, Du Yu, Du Shui, Du Gui, and many others came forward. After ending the fierce battle, they gathered around happily. Not bad at all. Du Tingxian smiled and glanced at the Du family members. He did not hide his admiration. The Du family was no longer what it used to be. Uncle Tingxian, Uncle Tingxian. Ouyang Shuang bowed. She had never seen Du Tingxian before, but her father and mother had a brotherly relationship with this peerless middle-aged man in front of her. Du Tingxian looked at Ouyang Shuang. Before the surrounding people said anything, he recognized her. He was slightly surprised and smiled. I know who you are. How are your parents? Uncle Tingxian, father and mother are doing well. Ouyang Shuang turned her head and did not dare to raise her head. She was inexplicably nervous. Little girl Shuang, shouldn't you change the way you address me? Du Xiaoman smiled and teased. Sister Xiaoman, Ouyang Shuang's cheeks flushed red. She was no longer like before. She quietly retreated to Du Xiaofu, Xiaoqing, and Dai Xingyu. Ha ha ha. Good, this is what it means to be even closer. How could Du Tingxian not see it? He knew it when he saw Ouyang Shuang and Du Xiaofu's reaction. He was very happy. She was Ouyang Ling and Yuan Shanshan's daughter. How could he not agree? This was increasing their relationship. Not far away, Dongli Qingqing, Su Muxin, Qi Yeshi, and Sima Muhan stood and looked at the group of people who were laughing. Du Xiaofu looked at Ouyang Shuang, Su Muxin, Dongli Qingqing, Qi Yeshi, and Sima Muhan. His eyes were filled with emotions. Su Muxin and Dongli Qingqing were his women. How could Du Xiaofu not know what Qi Yeshi and Sima Muhan had done for him? Ouyang Shuang's big eyes followed Du Xiaofu's gaze. Her eyes were filled with emotions. Then, a smile that could topple countries appeared on her peerless face. She gently said to Du Tingxian, who was talking to Du Xiaoman and Du Yunlong, Uncle Tingxian, let me introduce you to a few friends who have been helping Xiaofu. Du Tingxuan's eyes twitched. He smiled and said, okay. Du Xiaofu was stunned. Ouyang Shuang had already brought Du Tingxian over and introduced Su Muxin, Dongli Qingqing, Qi Yeshi, and Sima Muhan. It seems to be a bit chaotic. Brother. Du Xiaoyao and Du Xiaoqing both looked at Du Xiaofu. They were a bit nervous for Du Xiaofu. Little Tiger Du looked at Du Xiaofu with his pure black eyes and asked, Third young master, should we do something? It's already a mess. If we die, then we die. Let's cut the Gordian knot. Du Xiaofu took a deep breath. He told someone to look after his sister, Xiao Jing, and also walked over. Hehuan School's sect master, Great Luan sect's sect master, Yinyang School's holy maiden, Ancient Heaven sect's young miss. Under Ouyang Shuang's introduction, Du Tingxian got to know Su Muxin, Dongli Qingqing, Qi Yeshi, and Sima Muhan. Father, these two are your daughters-in-law. Du Xiaofu appeared and directly pulled Su Muxin and Dongli Qingqing to Du Tingxian. Su Muxin and Dongli Qingqing were stunned. They were already a bit embarrassed, but at this moment, it was undoubtedly even more embarrassing. Their delicate faces immediately flushed red. They were completely stunned. Yi Shi and Muhan both saved my life. Without them, I'm afraid I would have died long ago. I've always protected your son. Then, Du Xiaofu looked at Qi Yeshi and Sima Muhan and said to Du Tingxian. Du Tingxian looked at Du Xiaofu, then looked at Qi Yeshi, Sima Muhan, Dongli Qingqing, Su Muxin, and Ouyang Shuang. He was not in a daze, but with a smile, he said to the 5 girls, this is the first time we meet. As a man, I don't know what gift to give. These are some small things on me that can protect me at a critical moment. You all take them first, and the rest of the gift will be given by his mother in the future. However, if this brat betrays you in the future, tell me, and I'll take care of him. When his voice fell, many palm-sized brocade boxes floated out of Du Tingshuan's Qianquan bag. They were filled with the aura of lightning and landed in front of the 5 girls. "Thank you, Uncle Tingxian." Ouyang Shuang was the first to receive it. Her cheeks were rosy and tender, making people want to take a bite. Su Muxin, Dongli Qingqing, Qi Yeshi, and Sima Muhan hesitated for a moment. They secretly glared at Du Xiaofu, but they all received the brocade boxes in front of them. "Thank you, Uncle." Dongli Qingqing, Qi Yeshi, Sima Muhan, and Su Muxin then bowed to Du Tingxian. "Ha!" Du Tingshuan's face was full of smiles. "Junior disciple, it seems like this matter is settled. In the future, the seniority will be yours and mine. It doesn't matter." On the stone platform in the square, Gu Qingyang patted Sima taking Xing's shoulder and looked forward with a smile. His 2 protruding teeth were especially eye-catching. This, Sima taking Xing's side. His deep glass-like eyes were filled with ripples. He suddenly felt a little reluctant in his heart. "Uncle, what is this?" Ouyang Shuang opened the brocade box in her hand. Electric arcs rippled, and a dazzling rune flew out. There were talisman runes that were dazzling to the eye, and lightning surged. A lightning ball the size of a baby's fist appeared in the brocade box. A destructive energy surged out. "Girl, quickly close it." Du Tingshuan's face changed and immediately said to Ouyang Shuang. Ouyang Shuang had already closed the brocade box in her hand when she sensed the destructive energy. That destructive energy had caused her heart to violently tremble. Chapter 1686. Although it's just a small toy, once it explodes, even a sealed domain realm cultivator's soul will be destroyed. Even a grand domain realm cultivator will be severely injured if they don't die. Du Tingxian said to Ouyang Shuang, "In the divine domain, the power of this item will be suppressed, but if it explodes, the shockwaves will not be small." "Is this a divine lightning bullet?" Qi Yeshi exclaimed. She recalled a terrifying item in the legends. As expected of a Yinyang schoolgirl. This is indeed a divine lightning bullet. Du Tingxian smiled. It's really a terrifying item. Qi Yeshi clicked her tongue. What's the origin of the divine lightning bullet? Ouyang Shuang asked curiously. It's rumored that the divine lightning bullet was created by Jinlei Tensei. It's said that it uses spiritual lightning as a trigger. Once it explodes, it can directly kill experts. If a large number of divine lightning bullets explode, no one will dare to block it, said Qi Yeshi. It must be fun. Grandpa, I want it too. Little Xingxing didn't plan to let go of such a fun item and immediately asked for it. Okay. Du Tingxian smiled and took out 2 brocade boxes, giving them to little Xingxing. Then, he waved his sleeve and a brocade box appeared in front of Du Xiaoman, Yi Zijin, Dai Xingyu, Du Xiaoqing, and Du Shui. He said, there are 12 in total. I don't have any more. Thank you, Uncle Tingxian. Yi Zijin, Dai Xingyu, and the others happily received the brocade boxes. Not far away, Zishuan returned to the Phoenix clan's formation and stood quietly. She was tall and slender, with a pair of slender legs that made her look even more beautiful. Du Xiaofu looked at Zishuan and then at Moksha from the devil religion. Jueju, you're here too. In front of the stone platform, Jialo Kaling gracefully walked over. She saw Jialo Jueju, her younger brother. Anyone can enter the divine domain. I no longer have anything to do with the golden-winged great rocks. Go back. Jialo Jumi walked out. The black hair behind his head had a silky luster, and his temperament gave off the noble aura of a prince. However, his eyes were like jet-black agate, incomparably deep. Grandma is still waiting for you to go back. Jialo Kaling continued to speak. The golden brilliance in her eyes surged, and her tall and slender body trembled slightly. Ripples appeared in Jialo Jumi's deep eyes. His black robe and black hair moved slightly. His nose was straight and his skin was like jade. However, his expression was still calm and indifferent. He looked familiar yet strange at the same time. He said to Jalo Kaling, "Sister, go back. I have nothing to do with the clan anymore." Young clan leader, they seem to be people from the devil religion. Ju Qi is with them. Jalo Jueyu stood beside Du Xiaofu. Back when he was outside the territory of the golden-winged great rocks, he had fought with some people from the devil religion and felt the aura of the devil religion. It is indeed the devil religion. Du Xiaofu looked at Moksha and the others from afar. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure disappeared from where he was standing. Qi. When Du Xiaofu's figure reappeared, he was already standing beside Jalo Kaling. He raised his head slightly and looked at Jalo Jumi. However, he didn't know what to say. Moksha looked at Du Xiaofu. On his exquisite face, there was a hint of playfulness in his smile. He said, "Why? Do you want to fight now? Where is my master?" Du Xiaofu stared at Moksha. "Your master, Xiahou Fenglei." Mo Sha had a smile that was not a smile. The curve of his lips was rather perfect, and he was always smiling. However, this smile was dangerous and evil, causing the aura on his body to be very complicated. It was as if he already knew everything about Du Xiaofu. Just now, Du Xiaofu could shock everyone, but he couldn't shock Moksha. He smiled and said, "I can tell you that your master Xiahou Fenglei is not dead yet. His 3,000 thunder soul seed must have fallen into your hands. In addition to the silvernet soul devouring thunder, you have a lot of spiritual thunder on you." Phew, Du Xiaofu took a deep breath and looked at Moksha. He said, "I think that with your status in the devil religion, it should be no problem for me to capture you in exchange for my master." It's the people of the devil religion. When the words devil religion came out of Du Xiaofu's mouth, many people around the square changed their expressions, especially those from the School of Agriculture, School of Buddhism and School of Taoism. The devil religion has appeared again. Many people's eyes lit up. At that moment, on the stone platform, Mo Sha didn't care about the gazes of the people around him. He looked at Du Xiaofu with a smile on his face and said, "If you think that you have the strength to defeat me, you can try. However, I have to remind you out of goodwill that even if you can defeat me, there aren't many people around you who can defeat me. The sovereign tomb is about to open, let's wait until the very end. Only one of us can enter the final sovereign tomb. This Moksha seems to be very strong." Du Xiaoyao appeared beside Du Xiaofu and looked at Moksha with her golden spiritual eyes. Little Xingxing also appeared beside Du Xiaofu. On that innocent and harmless face, his eyes were looking at Moksha with a faint golden flame. He seemed to be ready to attack at any time. Phew! Phew! Du Xiaofu took a deep breath. Du Xiaofu was very clear about Moksha's strength. Back in the Tianhuang mainland, there was no clear victor. At this moment, Du Xiaofu felt that Moksha was still emitting a dangerous aura. Du Xiaofu had a vague premonition that Moksha's dangerous aura far surpassed Qin Wudi and Gongsun Wuji. Then, looking at the disciples of the desolate country behind him, Du Xiaofu said to Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, and the others, "The supreme tomb hasn't appeared yet. Let's roast some meat first. There's still a dragon to be stewed. It won't be nutritious if we wait too long. Alright, let's eat." Little Xingxing was hungry again and the golden flame in his eyes slowly dissipated. Du Xiaofu turned around and left. Moksha still had a slight smile on his face. Then, he sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to rest. Even the Demon King seems to be wary of him. What kind of powerful existence is he? Moksha. I don't think I've heard of him before. It's rumored that Moksha has appeared in the Tianhuang mainland before. Someone spoke up and discussed Moksha. Since the Demon King and Du Xiaofu were wary of him, they couldn't help but take him seriously. As for the two words demonic sect, the more profound the background of a force, the more moved they would be. Lian Qing Rong, fire cloud evil god, the green-clothed youth who was full of vitality, and the youth whose eyes were like hell were all looking at Mo Sha, intentionally or otherwise. Has the devil's sect officially appeared in the world? They are a terrifying power that has been hidden very deeply. They have existed for a very long time and have caused huge waves in the past. In the village, an old woman said to the younger generation, her eyes filled with worry. It's rumored that the devil religion has a great origin and has appeared before. But it was suppressed and disappeared. I didn't expect it to appear again. An old man from the Taoist school said. The devil religion seems to be related to the great calamity of the world. The appearance of the devil religion isn't a good thing. In the Confucian school, an old man was also worried. He said to his juniors, the devil religion is afraid of the 9 great families and some hidden existences. They didn't dare to show themselves and have been silent in the dark. Now that they have appeared, perhaps the great calamity of the world has already begun. Chapter 1687. Elder, if the devil religion is related to the great calamity of heaven and earth, why don't we act now? A young man and woman asked the old man. The 9 great families have restrictions. As long as the 9 divine lightning cauldrons don't appear, the 9 great families can't interfere with anything in the outside world. Besides, the devil religion is definitely not easy to deal with. It's not good to act in the divine domain. We'll discuss it when we return. An old man from the Mo family warned the Mo family disciples. On the stone platform, Moksha, who was sitting cross-legged, slightly opened his slightly closed eyes. He swept his gaze around, and some lightning flashed in his eyes. Then, he restrained himself and closed his eyes again, ignoring them. The mysterious purple-robed, green-bodied figure and Jialo Jumi also sat cross-legged behind Mo Sha. Both of them had their eyes closed and were resting their minds. After a while, the square was filled with the aroma of meat. In front of shocked and trembling eyes, many ancient demonic beasts and flood dragons around the square were cleaned by the ghost chariot, phantom tiger king, violent bear king, and the others, and turned into a pile of fragrant barbecued meat by Du Xiaofu. The barbecued meat was filled with energy, fluctuating with multicolored light and emitting a meat fragrance. As for Long San's body, he was a descendant of a supreme nirvana true self nirvana realm true dragon. He was in Du Xiaofu's cauldron, and along with many spiritual herbs, he became a dragon bone treasure soup. In the multicolored light, there were mysterious runes of dragons. The treasure soup boiled, and a faint shadow of a black dragon roared. It was a shocking sight. The energy is too amazing. It's a treasure among treasures. More and more people in the square were amazed. Some of the old men from the 9 great families had their eyes wide open. Not to mention Long San's black dragon treasure soup, even the large pile of barbecued flood dragons and archaic demonic beast descendants on the huge barbecue table was definitely not ordinary barbecued meat. They all contained a shocking amount of energy. Eating a mouthful of them was like eating spirit herbs. Do you want to eat? Du Xiaofu asked Du Tingxian when the fragrance of the meat permeated the air and the dragon bone soup was boiling. Looking at the barbecued meat, Du Tingxian seemed to be reminiscing about something. He smiled at Du Xiaofu and said, "Of course. Eat." Following Du Xiaofu's command, the disciples from the desolate country, Tian country, 7-Star Hall, Jianwu Academy, Hehuan School, and Ancient Heaven sect all rushed forward. This is mine. I want to chew on the wings. Little Star plucked off a large wing of an archaic demonic beast and wolfed it down. Its small stomach was like a bottomless pit. Qi Yeshi, Dongli Qingqing, Ouyang Shuang, Yi Zijin, Phantom, Du Shui, Jialo Kaling, and the others were all beautiful women, but at this moment, they were all stained with smoke and fire. The surrounding members of the 9 great clans simply could not believe that each and every one of those alluring women would actually have such a disregard for their image. Don't blame me for not exposing my identity. Du Xiaofu carried a piece of barbecued meat to Qi Jiejun from the Yinyang family. Now that he knew Qi Jiejun's identity, he also knew that Qi Jiejun had helped him a lot in the Yinyang family. Limitless brilliant star spear, you have to find an opportunity to return it to me. Qi Jiejun smiled and took the barbecued meat without hesitation. He whispered to Du Xiaofu. Hearing this, Du Xiaofu secretly rolled his eyes, then nodded and said, "Okay, I'll find an opportunity to return it to you." Straightforward. Then I'll also help you and my sister at home. Don't worry. Qi Jiejun patted Du Xiaofu's shoulder, very satisfied. Then, the two of them put their arms around each other's shoulders and mingled together. Qi Yeshi couldn't help but be startled when she saw this. Then, she smiled and asked the disciples from the Yinyang family to join in the barbecued meat. Sister Xiao Luo, brother Zhou Yu, you guys eat some too. It tastes really good. Du Xiaoqing also pulled the people from the farmer's family over. The people from the Mo family were also pulled over by Sima Muhan. Just now, the people from the 3 great families were all eating, so now, they were not polite. But when they tasted the barbecued meat, they were all moved. The disciples from the great families all lost their manners. Mo Runan and Zhou Xiaoluo, those 2 otherworldly women, were also pulled into the sea. When they saw Su Muxin, Jialo Kaling, Ouyang Shuang, and the others eating, they couldn't help but try it, and they couldn't stop themselves. As for the black dragon treasure soup, only a few people could drink it. Those who weren't strong enough didn't dare to touch it. That was a supreme nirvana dragon. Its supreme nirvana blood, dragon bones, and dragon meat were all stewed together in a pot. How shocking was the energy! Mo Runan and Zhou Xiaoluo couldn't help but taste the black dragon treasure soup in the end. Not to mention the taste of the black dragon treasure soup, just the soup made by the descendant of a supreme nirvana dragon was probably the only shop in the world. If they missed it this time, they probably wouldn't have the chance to taste it again in their lifetime. Mother, you eat some too. Little Xingxing took a large pile of barbecued meat and black dragon treasure soup to the Phoenix clan's lineup and handed it to Zixuan. She didn't forget her godmother. There was a lot of barbecued meat, and the large pile of monster corpses was like a mountain in the distance. Are you interested in eating some together? Du Xiaofu ate the barbecued meat and drank the black dragon treasure soup. Then, he looked at the Taoist, Confucian, and Buddhist schools. There were familiar faces among them, including Heng Qi, Su Lingzi, Meng Wui, Yan Lihan, and the others who were defeated by him before. I can't help it. Su Yangzi of the Taoist school spoke. He was the first to walk over. Indeed, I can't help it. Let me try it too. Kong Sansi of the Confucian school shook his clothes and didn't stand on ceremony. Amitba, thank you for your kindness, benefactor. Do my school of Buddhism really can't touch meat? The extraordinary young man leading the school of Buddhism said to Du Xiaofu. Heng Luan, your school of Buddhism is so troublesome. Kong Sansi had already eaten the barbecued meat and said to the young monk leading the legalism school of Buddhism impolitely. It can't be helped. The school of Buddhism has clear rules and precepts. We must abide by them. The young monk called Heng Luan had a shining ring on his head. He looked at the many old monks beside him with a helpless gaze. All right then. Du Xiaofu didn't force the school of Buddhism. He was afraid that with the old monks present, the young monks wouldn't dare violate the rules. After all, back on Tianhuang continent, ninefold spirits had secretly eaten a lot. At this moment, all the schools of Buddhism had called out to Du Xiaofu, except for the school of Buddhism. This made the school of Buddhism's members' expressions turn cold and unsightly. Their expressions weren't very pleasant. Du Xiaofu didn't call out till Yan Qingrong. The black dragon treasure soup had great benefits, but with Lien Qingrong's cultivation and strength, there was no need to go that far. He had other arrangements. Do you want a bite? Du Xiaofu walked over to Jiangchen. All right. Jiangchen smiled. His face was sharp and angular, and he didn't stand on ceremony. Where have you been all these years? Cultivating. How does the barbecued meat taste? Not bad. How have you been all these years? Pretty good. The two of them chatted. Du Xiaofu asked questions, and Jiangchen answered. In the end, Du Xiaofu glared at Jiangchen, feeling a bit gloomy. Everyone talks about their own seniority. It has nothing to do with them. At some point, Sima Taxing had walked over with Du Tingxian. They sat in a corner of the stone platform, each of them pulling out a jug of wine and drinking from it. A bloody battle was supposed to be a public square where everyone should be on guard. However, at this moment, Du Xiaofu had turned it into a barbecue party. Everyone was eating happily. A moment later, Du Xiaofu walked over to Du Tingxian and sat down on the edge of the platform. What were you and my senior brother talking about just now? He asked. Du Tingxian handed the jug of wine to Du Xiaofu. He said his family's cabbage might have been eaten by my family's pig. He's a bit reluctant to part with it. What cabbage? What pig? Du Xiaofu took a sip of wine. He was a bit surprised, but at the moment, he felt nostalgic. The wine tasted right. He glanced at his sister, Xiao Jing, who was still awakening her martial meridians. The wine tasted even better. I don't know if his family's cabbage was eaten by his pig, said Du Tingxian. But even if my family's pig was eaten by someone else, he'd still get half of it. Du Xiaofu understood. He rolled his eyes at Du Tingxian, then handed over the jug of wine. You did a good job. Du Tingxian took a sip, and there was a slight smell of alcohol on his body. However, it was clear that he was very happy today. Looking at the various factions, Taoists, and Confucians that Du Xiaofu had pulled over to eat meat and drink wine, he said to Du Xiaofu seriously, remember my words. No matter how strong you are, you can't allow yourself to be isolated. That is a very dangerous thing. No matter how strong you are, you can't support everything. You need people and friends by your side. The people by your side will make sure that you don't step on empty air, and your friends will be able to support you. No matter how strong a person is, he seems to be weak. A tree that stands out in the forest attracts the wind. When the wind is strong, it's easy to break the tree. Yes. I understand. Du Xiaofu nodded seriously. Since childhood, it seemed that this was the first time he talked so seriously with his alcoholic father. You did better than me. Du Tingxian said. Du Xiaofu looked at his sister, Xiao Jing, and said softly, I've seen mother. Your mother should be very happy, right? Du Tingxuan's eyes flickered as he took a sip of wine. Yes. Du Xiaofu nodded. When his mother was mentioned, he felt the fluctuation in his alcoholic father's heart. He knew that his alcoholic father must miss his mother more than him. After wolfing down the food, on the square, many figures sat down cross-legged and began to refine the huge amount of energy in their bodies. With so many people together, there were people from many major forces present. They were not afraid that someone would secretly play tricks. Light filled the air, mysterious runes fluctuated, and many figures fluctuated. Zhou Xiaoluo, Mo Runan, Du Yunlong, Gue Che, Jialo Jiueyu, Little Xingxing, and the others who drank the black dragon treasure soup were also sitting cross-legged and adjusting their breath. The benefits contained in the black dragon treasure soup were definitely not small. Whoosh whoosh, in the distance, there were still people coming over. They were all here to fight for the greatest opportunity in the Supreme Tomb. These creatures that arrived last felt the strange atmosphere in the square. They felt that something was wrong and strange. Bang bang, roar, soon after, new battles began in the square. The roars of beasts and sonic booms of energy could be heard constantly. Some forces and powerful demonic beasts were having the final showdown. They were fighting for the ownership of the remaining stone platforms. Whoever could get it first would have the upper hand. Chapter 1688. There were a total of 10 stone platforms. Originally, only Lian Qingrong, the green-robed youth, the hell-eyed black-robed youth, the dragons, the famed scholars, the legalism, and the school of vertical and horizontal each occupied a stone platform. Later, Du Xiaofu chased away the famed scholars, the devil religion chased away a group of Yao beasts, and Du Xiaofu destroyed the dragons, the legalism, and the school of vertical and horizontal. So now, many stone platforms were empty. As for the school of Yin Yang, the school of Taoism, the school of Confucianism, the school of Buddhism, the school of agriculture, and the Phoenix clan, they were all watching from the sidelines. They approached the stone platforms, but they didn't actually set foot on them. Rumor had it that if they could seize a stone platform, they would have the upper hand. Naturally, they wouldn't be polite. Many powerful beast clans began to compete. They were all Yao clans of the beast region. There were huge heavenly serpents and demon eagles that covered the sky with their wings. Demonic energy filled the sky. There were also huge lightning elephants that rampaged like mountains. There were also taiga goldbiter rats. Let's fight. After that, the school of Yin Yang, the school of agriculture, and the Phoenix clan also began to compete. Roar! Bang! 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 The battle was intense. The roars of the beasts were like thunder, dazzling the eyes. Continuous sonic booms rang out. But in the end, after the school of Yin Yang's Qijiajun, the school of agriculture, and the others began to compete, the 10 directional stone platforms were officially claimed. The desolate nation, the devil religion, Lian Qingrong, the fire cloud evil god, the green-robed youth, and the hell-eyed black-robed youth. Naturally, no one dared to provoke them. The school of Moism, the school of agriculture, the school of Buddhism, the school of Taoism, and the school of Yin Yang each fought for the remaining stone platforms. Of the 10 stone platforms, 9 were already claimed. The Phoenix clan and the school of Confucianism were still fighting over the last one. Huang Ling and Kong Sansi were fighting one-on-one. Du Xiaofu was sizing them up. This was the first time he'd seen Huang Ling fight. The woman and Phoenix battle attracted everyone's attention. When Kong Sansi finally revealed his lesser sovereign nirvana identity and true self nirvana cultivation base, Huang Linger also revealed her lesser sovereign nirvana identity and true self nirvana cultivation base. The battle between the sorcery force of the Confucian school and the Phoenix race was undoubtedly the most intense battle since the battles between the Desolate Nation, the Dragons, and the school of Vertical and Horizontal. After a few hundred moves, the two of them were still unable to determine a victor. Kong Sansi had already transformed into a giant hundreds of meters tall, like an ancient sorcerer who had traveled through time and space. The sorcerer's body emitted a misty mist, like millions of mountains descending from the sky, making people feel like their hearts were about to explode and go limp. The power of the sorcerer god is truly extraordinary. This was Du Xiaofu's second time seeing the sorcerer's power of the Confucian school, and he was still amazed by it. This sorcerer's power was extremely strange. My Confucian school will not fight for the stone platform. Peace is the most important thing. Kong Sansi's giant body, which was surrounded by the sorcerer's power, swept his gaze across the Phoenix race's lineup. Zixuan was also there, and he seemed to be a little afraid of the beautiful woman who had been standing beside Zixuan and Huang Linger. After his voice fell, he withdrew his sorcerer's power and stopped fighting. Huang Linger withdrew her body, smiled, and stepped onto the last stone platform. That woman seems to have not used her full strength yet. She's getting more and more terrifying. Guqin Demon stood beside Du Xiaofu. He was not in a hurry to adjust his breathing. He was instinctively afraid of Huang Linger. Back in the heavenly beast tomb, he was chased by Huang Linger all over the place. Kong Sansi should also have some trump cards, but he's smart. Du Xiaofu smiled faintly. He could see that Huang Linger had not used her full strength yet, but Kong Sansi should also have a trump card. If these two wanted to determine the winner, they would only know at the end. However, Kong Sansi knew in his heart that the Phoenix race still had little sovereign Zixuan, who was at the Nirvana True Self realm. The Phoenix race also had a beautiful woman who was definitely very strong. On the other hand, although the disciples of the Confucian school were not weak, and they were all extraordinary and outstanding, there was no one who could compete with Zixuan and that beautiful woman. Therefore, Kong Sansi had already realized that the Confucian school would not be able to win if they continued to fight. Instead of being defeated in the end, it was better to retreat first and leave to fight for the supreme tomb. The Confucian school retreated a little dejectedly. They were also very helpless in the face of the Phoenix race. Kong Sansi, do you want to come up and join us? Du Xiaofu looked at Kong Sansi with a faint smile. The gloomy Kong Sansi raised his head, looked at Du Xiaofu, and grinned. His Confucian robes fluttered as he laughed. Perfect. Deference is no substitute for obedience. As soon as he finished speaking, Kong Sansi acted as if they were familiar with each other. He bluntly led the Confucian disciples onto the stone platform. Although the stone platforms were vast, the Desolate Nation, the Profound Talisman Sect, the Profound Underworld Sect, the Beast Region, the Ghost Chariot King, the Phantom Tiger King, the Star Swallower King, the Savage Bear King, and many other Yao beasts were also present. Now, with the addition of the Confucian school, it immediately became a little crowded. However, it was still all right. It wasn't too crowded. The Confucian school disciples didn't act arrogantly in front of the Desolate Nation disciples. After witnessing the Desolate Nation's ferocious killing intent and terrifying strength, they knew what to expect. They all nodded slightly. The atmosphere was quite pleasant. Jiangchen, do you want to come up? Du Xiaofu asked, gazing at Jiangchen from afar. No need. Jiangchen shook his head and stood there quietly. The side of his face was so perfect and broad that some of the women around him couldn't help but steal a few more glances at him. The 10 stone platforms already had owners. The most dejected of all were the School of Famers. Originally, the School of Famers wanted to fight for a spot, but in the end, when they looked at the 10 stone platforms and sized them up, they couldn't seem to find a single worthy opponent. All they could do was stand off to the side, depressed. Time slowly passed. People continued to arrive from all over the plaza. However, there weren't many of them. They were scattered here and there. After sizing up the plaza, they stood off in the distance, not daring to get too close. However, as soon as they appeared, they charged straight for the center of the plaza. Who dares block the path of the dragons? Scram! Those who oppose the path of the legalism will die. Who dares block the path of the school of vertical and horizontal? Scattered throughout the God domain, a few disciples of the dragons, the school of legalism, and the school of vertical and horizontal hurried to the plaza. They gathered together in large groups, looking down on the living creatures outside the plaza. They were extremely domineering and arrogant. When they saw the disciples of the dragons, the school of vertical and horizontal, and the school of legalism loftily approaching, the living creatures around them secretly sneered and automatically made way for them. Kill, the final result was as expected. The disciples of the dragons, the school of vertical and horizontal, and the school of legalism were not even enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of the desolate country. They killed every single one of them that appeared. They didn't even know how they died. Phew, the next day, in the center of the plaza, many figures of the school of Yin-Yang, the school of Moism, and the school of agriculture woke up. Their eyes shone brightly, and their auras surged vigorously. They had all obtained some benefits. This is a little strange, some of the elders woke up. They discovered something special. In the God domain, they felt that the suppression had lessened by a lot. Some of the elders who had surpassed the initial domain of the martial domain realm realized that their true strength was no longer suppressed. There were some signs of it loosening, but it wasn't completely loosening. This change made some of the elders who discovered some clues feel that it was strange. The Qinhuang mainland was silent for no reason. According to the news from inside, the Supreme Tomb seems to be opening soon. This is the last time God's domain space will open. I wonder if the greatest opportunity will appear. What is the greatest opportunity, and who will obtain it? They were even more nervous than the people in the divine domain. Everything in the divine domain was related to the destiny of all the major powers and clans. It was said that the greatest destiny could be obtained by the disciples of their clans and clans. If the disciples of their clans and clans could obtain it, they would be able to influence the destiny of their clans and clans for tens of thousands of years. On the towering mountain peak, the people of the school of vertical and horizontal, legalism, and the dragons gathered together. Their faces were extremely gloomy. There isn't much time left. We must find a way to get rid of that father and son. Otherwise, the school of vertical and horizontal, dragons, and legalism will be a huge problem. Gong Sun Yen transmitted her voice to Li Qinfa, Qin Tianshi, and Long Ting's ears, Li Qinfa, Qin Tianshi, that father and son are the scourge left behind by your legalism. You have to bear the main responsibility. Chapter 1689. This matter is closely related to your school of legalism as well. Don't forget that our school of legalism's losses are no less than yours. Li Qinfa transmitted, his expression dark. There's no need for your legalism and school of vertical and horizontal to argue. Getting rid of that father and son pair is the most important thing now. If they really do come out, I'm afraid that the school of Mo, the school of Farmer, the school of Yin Yang, and the golden-winged Great Ping clan will intervene. It won't be easy to kill them outside. Draco transmitted. He was worried that the school of Yin Yang and the golden-winged Great Ping clan would join forces to protect the father and son. It would not be easy to kill them outside. What else can we do? Our people are already bleeding in the Divine Dominion. We can't enter the Divine Dominion, so there's no way we can kill them. Li Qinfa transmitted. Not necessarily. Someone from the school of vertical and horizontal brought out the news. The heavens want that father and son dead. Gong Sun Hui transmitted to Li Qinfa, Qin Tianshi, and Draco. The suppression in the Divine Dominion is weakening. Perhaps this has to do with the fact that this is the last time the Divine Dominion is open. The suppression inside is weakening. If it weakens a little more, our chance will come. This is the will of the heavens. The heavens want that father and son dead. I've been secretly trying to make contact with the Divine Dominion these past few days. I've found that the suppression is indeed weakening. Draco transmitted. But the father and son are no longer the same as before. Even so, our dragons, the school of vertical and horizontal, and the legalism have all been killed. There are only a few scattered people left. Even if there are some elders left, they won't be enough to kill the father and son. To ensure that nothing goes wrong, we have to go in personally this time. Gong Sun Hui transmitted. That's impossible. We can't go in. Qin Tianqi's dragon robe fluttered. His eyes flashed as he transmitted to Gong Sun Hui. Even if we can get in, the school of Mo, the school of Yin Yang, the school of Farmer, and the golden-winged Great Ping clan will make a move. We won't have any advantage. The restriction in the Divine Dominion is weakening. We have a chance to go in. Gong Sun Hui sneered. We don't have to go in ourselves. It's enough to kill the Demon King and his son. No one will know. Kiki. It seems to me that Gong Sun Hui, Li Qinfa, and Long Teng are up to no good. What are they discussing? I don't think they have good intentions. On the mountain peak in the distance, old monster Xing Hun's voice transmission landed in the ears of the old lady, old man Deepa, and Bing Mo, who were seated cross-legged on the surrounding mountain peaks. Looking at Li Chenfa, Gong Sunhua, and the others on the distant mountain peak, old monster Xing Hun felt uneasy. Their people should have already been annihilated in the divine domain. Naturally, they are unwilling. Old man Daipai sent a voice transmission. Fortunately, within the divine domain, they are unable to interfere. When that Du Xiaofu comes out, all we have to do is keep a close eye on him. I'm afraid they want to attack us secretly. It will be hard to guard against them. Bing Mo was worried. Keep an eye on Li Chenfa, Qin Tianshi, Long Teng, and Gong Sunhua. If they dare to make a move, don't blame me for being rude. In the God domain, the atmosphere in the square had become tense and oppressive for no reason. Hula, at some point in time, light began to seep out of the void and illuminate the vast square. Looks like the supreme tomb is about to open. An old man raised his head and looked at the void with anticipation and nervousness. Qi La, on the stone platform, the golden light around Du Xiaofu retracted as he opened his eyes. Golden light rippled, lightning flickered, starlight filled the air, and purple flames fluctuated. Hu, exhaling a mouthful of turbid air, Du Xiaofu stood up and stretched. Du Xiaofu stared at the light that seeped out from the void. It was sometimes dark and sometimes bright, accompanied by a vast aura. Du Xiaofu was contemplating. Maybe, the tomb was about to open. Sister, if you have time, go back and take a look. Father and mother miss you a lot. Let's talk about it when we have time. The supreme tomb is about to open, be careful. Don't be rash. I know, I'll just hide behind you. Why are you walking with him? We met halfway. Big lawn, little lawn, and I got lost. If not for him, we would have been in deep trouble. In a way, he saved me. Not far away, there was a voice. Although it was soft, it couldn't escape Du Xiaofu's ears. It was a familiar voice. Du Xiaofu looked over. Not far away, he saw two familiar figures. One was Su Muxin, and the other was the woman surnamed Su who had been following him from the ancient forest. The two women sensed Du Xiaofu's gaze and slightly raised their eyes. Su Muxin's eyes flickered, she was naturally charming. The woman surnamed Su rolled her eyes at Du Xiaofu. At this moment, there were many people around the stone platform. She transmitted her voice to Du Xiaofu, I didn't mean to hide it from you. My name is Su Mayan. If you dare to bully my sister in the future, even if I can't beat you, I won't be polite to you. Sister. Su Mayan, hearing this, Du Xiaofu's eyes suddenly widened. Of course, Du Xiaofu remembered who Su Mayan was. Back then, one of the 12 heroes of Tianhuang mainland, there was a mysterious Su Mayan. However, he had never met her and only heard of her name. Su Muxin. Su Muxin, Du Xiaofu was stunned. So the person who had been following him all this time was Su Muxin's sister. It seemed that she was his sister-in-law. Looking at Du Xiaofu's stunned gaze, Su Muxin's clear eyes rippled. She transmitted her voice to Du Xiaofu, I grew up in Hehuan school and didn't have much contact with my family. No one outside knows about my relationship with Mayan. Thank you for your help on the way. Du Xiaofu nodded to Su Muxin. His face secretly twitched. Thinking that he didn't seem to have offended her along the way, he was relieved. It's time to talk about the matter between us. Du Xiaofu helped up the heavenly demon Yelu Han, who had been shackled but had been thrown on the stone platform, and released the voice restriction. The pitiful heavenly demon Yelu Han's battle strength was enough to rank him in the top 10 of the entire divine realm. He was also an ancient genius who had been sealed for a long time and had deliberately not broken through. At this moment, he was like a fallen phoenix, not even comparable to a chicken. The bloody hole on Yelu Han's back that had been punched by Du Xiaofu had stopped bleeding, but it was still dripping with blood. Faintly, one could see the dark red bones underneath, which was a ghastly sight to behold. Du Xiaofu, what do you want? If you want to kill me, then do as you please. As a Grand Nirvana stage expert, why do you have to threaten me like this? This is despicable. Yelu Han immediately said in a deep voice after the voice restriction was released. However, at this moment, facing the terrifying Demon King in front of him, even the ferocious Demon King that couldn't be killed, Yelu Han already felt fear in his heart. The Demon King in front of him was too ferocious, and he couldn't help but feel fear. Sigh, if you were an evil beast, then I would be able to eat you. Roast or stew you, it wouldn't be a waste. Du Xiaofu looked at Yelu Han and sighed with disappointment. However, you are a human. Killing you would be a waste. Tell me, what should I do with you? Yelu Han's eyes twitched. He didn't doubt Du Xiaofu's words. He had seen with his own eyes how Du Xiaofu had pulled out the bone and stewed it into a stew. Yelu Han's heart skipped a beat. We have no enmity between us. I only formed an alliance with Gongsun Wuji because I wanted to borrow the true dragon horn of the dragon race. Today, I, Yelu Han, have fallen into your hands. If you are a man, then give me a quick death. Yelu Han said in a deep voice. He was already a peerless talent thousands of years ago. How could he be so arrogant? At this moment, he had never been humiliated like this before. To him, this was more serious than death. You still dare to say that you have no enmity with me? First, you destroyed my puppet. Then, you attacked me with Gongsun Wuji, Long San, and Qin Wudi. This enmity is too big. Du Xiaofu's voice reached Yelu Han's ears. However, I am a magnanimous person today. I won't bicker with you. When Yelu Han heard this, he still did not understand what was going on. Soon after, under his astonished gaze, he saw Du Xiaofu, who had a ferocious expression just a moment ago, reveal an incomparably warm smile towards him. That smile clearly made him feel that it harbored ill intentions. Then, the ferocious Demon King intimately stuffed a thick healing pill into his mouth. At the same time, he undid the seal on his body. Yelu Han was stunned. He was completely stunned. He didn't know what was going on. The healing pill that the Demon King Du Xiaofu gave him was a treasure. Its grade was extraordinary. It was at the domain grade. It was priceless. Brother Yelu, I'm sorry for making you suffer. The people from the school of vertical and horizontal, legalism, and dragons are almost all dead. I said that as long as you bring the people from the school of vertical and horizontal, and tell me their weaknesses, the enmity with you for destroying my puppet will be written off. Now, our enmity is written off. From now on, you, Yelu Han, will be Du Xiaofu's brother. Du Xiaofu's voice rang out. His voice was laced with profound energy. He said loudly, from now on, Yelu Han, the sky demon, will be my, Du Xiaofu's, brother. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, the square was in an uproar. Some people were in an uproar. Oh my God, so the sky demon Yelu Han and the demon king Du Xiaofu were working together. Gongsun Wuji's death was too tragic. No wonder the demon king Du Xiaofu didn't kill the sky demon Yelu Han. The demon king didn't show any mercy to Yelu Han. There's something wrong here. That's because the sky demon Yelu Han also has a grudge with the demon king Du Xiaofu. The demon king Du Xiaofu will seek revenge for the smallest grievance. However, they must be working together. No wonder Qin Wudi, Gongsun Wuji, and Long San were killed. It turns out that Yelu Han told the demon king Du Xiaofu their weaknesses. Chapter 1690. In an instant, as Du Xiaofu's voice sounded, the surroundings of the square broke into a flurry of discussions. An uproar broke out as many people felt as if they had come to a sudden realization. Even Zhou Xiaoluo, Kong Sansi, Mo Runan, Luan, and the others who were resting opened their eyes in surprise. Du Xiaofu, Yelu Han's eyes were filled with anger. He was curious why the Demon King was suddenly so nice to him. He was not a fool, how could he not know that Du Xiaofu was scheming against him? Du Xiaofu killed Dragon San, Gongsun Wuji, Qin Wudi, and the others. The Dragon Clan, Legalism, and School of Vertical and Horizontal were probably going crazy and vomiting blood. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was clearly pulling him into the same boat. At that time, he would not be able to defend himself. The Dragon Clan, Legalism, and School of Vertical and Horizontal Dragons would rather mistakenly kill 1,000 people than let one of them go. They would definitely not forgive him. Once he got out of the divine domain, Yelu Han was very clear about what awaited him. Brother Yelu, if I were you, I would definitely heal myself first to avoid suffering. What do you say? Du Xiaofu directly interrupted Yelu Han's words. There was a smile in his eyes, a smile that was very sweet and also very warm. Hurry up and heal your injuries. I'll protect you. The sovereign tomb might open at any moment. You've waited for thousands of years, don't miss it. Also, quickly drink this spiritual liquid, it's very beneficial to your injuries. Don't worry, I won't go so far as to poison you. As soon as his voice fell, Du Xiaofu took out a jade bottle out of nowhere. It was filled with multicolored light, fluctuating with rich energy. It was obvious that it was a precious treasure. Yelu Han glared at Du Xiaofu, the blood in his body was surging. He almost vomited blood, but in the end, he forced himself to endure it. After waiting for thousands of years, the supreme tomb would open at any time. For this day, Yelu Han had paid an unimaginable price and effort. He really could not miss it. Humph. Yelu Han glared at Du Xiaofu and snorted. At this moment, he really did need a large amount of elixirs to heal himself. He took the jade bottle from Du Xiaofu's hand and drank it all in one gulp. Aoo, the spiritual liquid from the jade bottle entered his throat. It was accompanied by a dragon roar as it was emitted. Multicolored light soared to the sky and energy surged. This caused quite a number of gazes from all around the square to turn crimson with envy. Brother Yelu, Long San soup tastes pretty good, right? This is what I promised you in advance. If you want to drink anything else in the future, just tell me in advance. Du Xiaofu's voice rang out once again. Although there was no profound energy mixed in, his voice was very loud, enough for everyone to hear. Yelu Han was dumbfounded, his eyes fixed on Du Xiaofu. He finally understood that he had been tricked by Du Xiaofu again. After drinking Long San's black dragon treasure soup, not to mention 100 mouths, even if he had 1,000 mouths, he wouldn't be able to explain himself. This demon king, Du Xiaofu, didn't give him elixirs and black dragon treasure soup. This was clearly a trap for him to jump into. Yelu Han glared at Du Xiaofu. The blood in his body surged and his eyes rippled like a sea of blood. But in the end, Yelu Han's face was filled with anger and his body was trembling. He no longer paid attention to Du Xiaofu and sat down cross-legged to heal himself. As expected, this was premeditated. They worked together from the inside. He even drank Long San's soup. It seems like their relationship is pretty good. Seeing the heavenly demon Yelu Han begin to heal himself on the stone platform, the surrounding people were basically certain that the heavenly demon Yelu Han and Du Xiaofu were putting on a show to gain sympathy. On a stone platform, Lian Qingrong looked over from afar with a helpless smile hanging on the corner of her mouth. Beside Du Xiaofu, Zhen Qingchun, Master Apothecary Yi Wuming, and the others all knew what was going on. They could only smile sympathetically at the heavenly demon Yelu Han. This guy really went all out in scheming. However, Zhen Qingchun and Yi Wuming were extremely reluctant to part with Du Xiaofu's hard-earned capital. They faintly felt their hearts ache. Crackle, crackle, suddenly, an arc of lightning shot into the sky above the square and scattered in the air. Boom! A murderous aura, as if it was punishing all living things, suddenly swept across the sky. This murderous aura shocked everyone. They immediately looked towards the direction of the aura and into the distance. The place Du Tingxian had always been guarding had a blazing aura of lightning rising from it. It was as if a scarlet sun had appeared in the sky. Crackle, 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 Du Xiaojing, who had been awakening her martial veins, finally had the purple arc of lightning on her body become extremely dazzling. The blazing light of lightning was like a rising purple sun. Countless dazzling lightning runes seemed to connect with her bones, muscles, blood vessels, cells, and internal organs. They also surged out and covered the sky. Above the sky, arcs of lightning suddenly overflowed in all directions. Thunderclouds covered the sky, instantly shocking all living things and making them tremble with fear. Crackle, crackle, suddenly, Du Xiaojing's eyes, which had been closed for a long time, opened when the arcs of lightning were at their most blazing. Blazing purple lightning burst out from her eyes as if it had materialized. It connected with the thunderclouds in the sky and attacked the thunderclouds, turning into a huge vortex of lightning arcs. Boom, boom, boom. At this moment, the space in the square trembled violently. The terrifying might of lightning filled the sky, and countless arcs of lightning pierced through the space. Crackle, crackle, purple arcs of lightning shuttled through the sky, causing the space to explode and overturn. An endless stream of lightning fell on Du Xiaojing's body. This purple lightning was filled with a murderous aura. It was not austere, but the might of creation. It revealed the righteousness of heaven and earth and was vast and mighty. This kind of pressure spread, causing all the living things to look at the spreading might of lightning. All the hair on their bodies suddenly stood on end. At this moment, the living things in the square trembled violently in their minds and souls. They were so frightened that they almost wanted to crawl on the ground. She also has the bloodline of the Du family and has awakened her martial veins. On the stone platform occupied by the devil religion, Moksha had also stood up. He looked at Du Xiaojing in the distance, who was connected to the purple arc of lightning in the sky. His eyes also flashed with lightning. Behind Moksha, the mysterious purple-robed figure also stood up and raised his head. The hood of his robe covered his eyes, revealing a pair of eyes that gradually flashed with lightning. Father. Du Xiaofu's figure came to Du Tingshuan's side. He looked at the movements of his sister, Xiaojing, and was slightly nervous. Awakened, completely awakened. Du Tingxian clenched his fists slightly, his sharp eyes rippling. Rumble, suddenly, there was a tremor in the air. Du Xiaojing's figure was connected to the thunder cloud and the arc of lightning. Her beautiful figure was accompanied by a bright light that shot into the sky. The energy of heaven and earth in the area also began to fluctuate violently. Du Xiaojing stood in the sky like a ball of bright light that covered the sky. The purple arc of lightning around her body was moving back and forth in an incomparably terrifying manner in front of everyone's eyes. Rumble, a heavenly sound resounded. At this moment, above Du Xiaojing's forehead, there was a divine ring in the sky. Then, there was a second ring, a third ring, rumble, the heavenly sound resounded, like the heavy beating of a heavenly drum. There were a total of 9 divine rings in the sky. They shone brightly and the heavenly might was shocking. Another Grand Supreme. Du Xiaojing is also a Grand Supreme. The father and daughter, 3 Grand Supreme. Including Du Xiaoyao and the little dragon girl, the Du family has 5 Grand Supreme. In the entire square, under the awe-inspiring heavenly might, everyone's eyes were trembling, and their bodies were trembling. The Du family had 5 Grand Supreme. Du Tingxian and his children were all Grand Supreme. How shocking this was! Rumble, under the astonished gazes of the crowd, the 10th divine ring appeared above Du Xiaojing's head. The 10 divine rings in the sky were unprecedentedly bright and dazzling. At this moment, Du Xiaojing was in the sky like a goddess. Monstrous arcs of lightning swept across the sky. Her purple sun-like eyes shot straight into the vast sky. The terrifying heavenly might shook the heavens. Rumble. The entire square was trembling and rumbling. Far away from the square, mountains in all directions were collapsing and the ground was collapsing. Even the indestructible ground of the square was now cracking with tiny cracks. Heaven and earth were roaring, and the sky was trembling. This aura was too terrifying, causing the entire space to tremble. The supreme aura was spreading, suppressing the heaven and earth. It was as if the heaven and earth were shaking, and it was shocking. He had never seen 10 divine rings that looked like divine flames before. Everyone's eyes were trembling, their hearts were trembling, their souls were trembling, and their bodies were limp. At this moment, even Du Xiaoyao and little Xingxing were shocked. Under such a terrifying pressure, even a great sovereign would be directly suppressed. 10 divine rings. Du Xiaofu's eyes were trembling. He had never seen such a thing before. He had always wondered if there would be 10 divine rings above the 9 divine rings. But now, he saw it with his own eyes. Your sister Xiaojing has extraordinary talent. She is a natural-born holy venerate. This is the sign of a natural-born holy venerate. Du Tingxian said. His body was trembling at this moment, and his fists were slowly clenched. Natural-born holy venerate. Raising his head, Du Xiaofu's eyes were trembling. Previously, he had seen the legalism expert in his drunkard father's void painting. He had said that his sister Xiaojing was a natural-born holy venerate. Has anyone managed to cultivate 10 divine rings? Du Xiaofu then asked Du Tingxian. Your sister Xiaojing is a natural-born holy venerate. She has 10 divine rings. Rumor has it that in the ancient times when the geniuses were fighting for hegemony, there were people who were able to cultivate 10 divine rings from a Grand Supreme. They were called Great Supreme Nirvana, and they were equally famous as natural-born holy venerates. However, both natural-born holy venerates and Great Supreme Nirvana are just legends. Du Tingxian said to Du Xiaofu. Natural-born holy venerate. That Du Xiaojing is a legendary natural-born holy venerate. She might also be a Great Supreme Nirvana. That's just a legend. Today, she has appeared in the world. It's fated to see it. After the shock, the hearts of the elders from the various clans on the stone platform trembled as they recalled some legends. They cried out in alarm, shocking everyone. That's a natural-born holy venerate. On the stone platform, Moksha spoke. At this moment, his eyes were truly moved, and there were violent fluctuations. The purple lightning was connected. Du Xiaojing was cleansing her bones, refining her body, and forging her spirit. This was a huge benefit. In the distant void, 20 or so figures appeared, watching the terrifying commotion in front of them. A leading youth was in the sky. He looked to be about 27 or 28 years old. He wore a brocade robe, and his dazzling black eyes were like obsidian. He exuded a heroic and awe-inspiring aura. It's Xiaojing. He's a member of our legalism. Uncle Woody must be here too. Our people have arrived first. The youth spoke. He was Han Qianran, who had been killed by Du Xiaofu once. After entering the space of the divine domain again, he had encountered many dangers. However, he had also made amazing progress. Therefore, he had swept away much of the decadence after being defeated in the past and became a divine martial artist. Han Qianran had been rushing to the supreme tomb. He was afraid that he would not be able to make it in time and miss out on a great opportunity. Now that he had finally arrived, he was very happy. Let's go and meet up with Uncle Woody. Han Qianran's eyes were sharp. Like an eagle, he immediately led the people behind him and broke through the void. Swoosh, swoosh, more than 30 figures broke through the air and quickly crossed the void to appear on the square. More than 30 people stopped in the void and saw Du Xiaojing, who was wrapped in a strange phenomenon. His bones were being cleansed and his body was being refined by the purple lightning. Under that terrifying aura, more than 30 people were secretly trembling. Their legs went soft, and they almost fell from the sky. Han Qianran's gaze then swept across the square. He found it very strange. He did not see his third uncle, Qin Wudi. He did not even see a disciple of the legalism. However, he noticed more than 10 followers of the legalism. However, at this moment, they were with the people of the desolate country. Swoosh, suddenly, Han Qianran's heart and soul trembled. He felt a murderous gaze fall on him. Chapter 1691. Following the murderous gaze, Han Qianran saw a familiar figure that he would never forget in his life. Du Xiaofu. Han Qianran spat out these 3 words, his eyes trembling and emitting a chill. This was called enmity, not to mention the person who had killed him once. Legalism, don't let a single one of them go. Kill. Du Xiaofu said. Now that he had encountered someone from the school of legalism, and Han Qianran at that, there was no way he would let him go. He immediately rose into the air and appeared in front of Han Qianran in a flash. Rock's chaotic claw. When Du Xiaofu's figure appeared, golden light burst out in front of him. He waved his hand and the claw tore through the void, quickly spreading to Han Qianran. Du Xiaofu, do you think I'm still the same as before? Han Qianran was furious. Suddenly, his aura became oppressive. He punched out with a burst of divine power. In the turbulence of the void, runes were released brilliantly, blocking Du Xiaofu's claw. Kill! Battle cries shook the sky. The 18 heavenly generals had already charged out. The ghost chariot, violent bear king, silver-winged demonic condor, and other murderous creatures were not willing to be left behind. Their terrifying auras burst out and they immediately pounced on the remaining legalism people. Hey, you've broken through. Nirvana of the true self? Du Xiaofu looked at Han Qianran at this moment, somewhat surprised. Originally, Han Qianran's cultivation was at the sealed domain realm, but his strength was suppressed in the divine domain and was only at the initial domain realm. But just now, Du Xiaofu felt the nirvana aura of Han Qianran. The only possibility was that Han Qianran had made another breakthrough in the space of the divine domain and stepped into the nirvana supremacy. Then, he went one step further and switched to the nirvana level of the nirvana supremacy. Han Qianran glanced at Du Xiaofu in the distance, who was wrapped in a vision, and then looked at Du Xiaofu and sneered. I have to thank you. If you hadn't let me comprehend life and death, I wouldn't have been able to break through. Now that I'm at the nirvana of the true self level, do you have the strength to kill me again? Boom! When his voice fell, Han Qianran's whole body was surging with divine light, and bright runes soared into the sky. He opened his eyes, and a terrifying beam of light swept out like thunder. The level of nirvana swept out without reservation, and 3 divine rings like divine fire appeared above his head. Within the divine domain, he had been killed by Du Xiaofu. After experiencing a moment of life and death, he had gained an epiphany. He was a heavenly genius to begin with, and even if he hadn't undergone paragon nirvanic rebirth, it would still be difficult for him to be overshadowed. Half-step supreme nirvana. When they saw Han Qianran's nirvana supremacy status, some people around spoke out. However, when he heard Han Qianran's arrogant words, he couldn't help but laugh helplessly. If Han Qianran knew that Qin Wudi had also been killed by Du Xiaofu, he definitely wouldn't have the heart to continue fighting. Alas, Han Qianran is really unlucky. Someone in the crowd who was familiar with Han Qianran exclaimed. But Han Qianran was different now. He had been killed because his cultivation was suppressed in the divine realm. At this moment, not only had he made another breakthrough, but he had also reached the nirvana realm from the supreme nirvana realm and was no longer suppressed by the space of the divine domain. This was a world of difference from his original strength. Therefore, Han Qianran did not believe that Du Xiaofu could kill him again. Because he was no longer the same as before. Half-step supreme nirvana. Du Xiaofu raised his eyebrows, but he did not find it strange. Han Qianran was indeed outstanding. He was a half-step nirvana saint, just like Su Muxin and Jialo Kaling. Han Qianran's talent was definitely not below that of Su Muxin and Jialo Kaling. He might even be better than them. Du Xiaofu, you can't kill me anymore. Han Qianran sneered. He also activated his half-step sovereign martial vein and white tiger meridian spirit. The white tiger meridian spirit's shadow turned into a real spirit, shining with white light. Sizzle, at the same time, Han Qianran's heavenly soul thunder covered the void, and several terrifying means were fusing together. Sizzle, in an instant, the heavenly soul thunder soared to the sky, the white tiger roared, the ferocious birds and strange beasts spread their wings and soared into the sky. Spiritual thunder. On the stone platform in the square below, Moksha raised his eyebrows and looked at Han Qianran's heavenly soul thunder. Electric arcs flashed in his eyes. In the void, Han Qianran's body was surrounded by a shocking phenomenon. The void was collapsing, as if the world was falling apart. Legalism's power of Dharma and the combination of Dharma power is extraordinary. The combination of Dharma power and Dharma power is boundless. Han Qianran is not far from Qin Wudi. Han Qianran and I have even fused a spiritual thunder in their bodies. They are very powerful. When they saw that Han Qianran had also caused such a commotion, the elders of the various families were also amazed. Legalism's younger generation is unparalleled. It should have been prosperous, but unfortunately, there were also some old people who secretly sighed. The school of legalism had quite a few extraordinary figures among the younger generation. They seemed to be able to suppress the other major clans. Originally, they had the potential to prosper, but now, they were being destroyed one by one. All of this had to do with the school of legalism itself. Du Xiaofu, let's fight again. Han Qianran did not hold back. He gathered his strongest attack and solidified the void. The runes were shining brightly. Above the sky, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled, the white tiger roared, and the phantoms of the ferocious birds and strange beasts exploded like thunder. Come on. Du Xiaofu stepped into the air and smiled faintly. His black hair fluttered and his eyes flashed with purple-gold lightning. He was as still as a mountain, and he was not angry but powerful. The void was shining brightly. Han Qianran's attack was crushed, carrying a destructive force that covered the sky. Wherever it passed, the void turned into nothingness and cracks appeared in the space. This scene made the people in the square below tremble with fear and their hair stand on end. The terrible attack also shrouded Du Xiaofu in an instant and crushed him. Roar! Du Xiaofu let out a loud roar. His domineering roar was like heavenly thunder that reverberated endlessly, causing the heaven and earth to tremble and the universe to rumble. The strange phenomena in the surroundings shattered one after another, and the phantoms of the ferocious birds and strange beasts were directly destroyed. At the same time, Du Xiaofu was not afraid of Han Qianran's magic power at all. He directly collided with it. In the palm of his hand, the roars of dragons and tigers, as well as the cries of birds and turtles, were heard. Roar! The next moment, in Du Xiaofu's hand, a strange handprint accompanied by the phantom of a golden-winged roc flew out. Its aura made all beasts crawl and suppressed the true spirit of the white tiger. Then, it was shattered by the palm and turned into bright runes. Puff, puff, Han Qianran spat out blood and his eyes were suddenly filled with horror. He had thought that he could already fight with Du Xiaofu. But at this moment, Han Qianran found that everything was completely different from what he had imagined. Han Qianran had thought that he had made great progress and made another breakthrough. He was no longer the same as before. But Han Qianran did not expect that Du Xiaofu's breakthrough and progress were far more than his. Then, under everyone's astonished gaze, a shocking scene appeared in the sky. Du Xiaofu's body spread purple thunderbolts, activating the thunder martial vein of Xing Sha. As the world trembled, he was in the midst of Han Qianran's heavenly soul thunderbolts. The purple electric arcs on his body filled the void and directly absorbed the energy of the heavenly soul thunderbolts. In front of Du Xiaofu, that frightening aura of the heavens and earth seemed so weak, as though it was nothing more than a piece of rotten wood. Kill! Du Xiaofu stepped out, his new purple battle suit flapping in the wind. He was not afraid of the heavenly soul thunderbolts at all. Instead, his eyes were blazing like a cat that had seen a fish. He waved his hand and punched through the rolling heavenly soul thunderbolts toward Han Qianran. Han Qianran, whose strength had increased greatly, was no match for him at this moment. The terrible punch wrapped in purple thunderbolts made him feel the aura of death for the second time. Bang! In the blink of an eye, a fist imprint that was wrapped in a demonic qi rushed out and collided with Du Xiaofu's fist. Crash! The impact of such a collision was not loud, but the terrible energy accompanied by the electric arcs swept out like a storm. After the terrible energy reached the distant sky, it slowly came to an abrupt stop and dissipated into nothingness. There was dead silence all around. Everyone's eyes were dull, as if time had stopped. An expert intervened. The people in the square below trembled. In a flash, someone intervened to save Han Qianran of the legalism school. Even someone as powerful as Du Xiaofu had been blocked just now. This caused great waves to rise in the hearts of everyone present. In a flash, a figure appeared in front of Han Qianran, who staggered back. He was Moksha. There was a playful smile on his handsome face, exuding an extremely dangerous aura. He looked at Du Xiaofu and said, "You can't kill him. It's Moksha of the devil religion. He's made a move." People around exclaimed. It was Moksha of the devil religion who had made a move. All eyes were immediately fixed on the void. They wanted to observe the battle between the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, and Moksha and take the opportunity to spy on something. "I'm going to kill him." Du Xiaofu looked at Moksha coldly. "Thank you for your help." Han Qianran came back to his senses. Seeing that someone had helped him, no matter who it was, at this time, the person who helped him was naturally his friend. "He won't die in your hands." Moksha ignored Han Qianran and shook his head at Du Xiaofu. At this moment, Moksha's figure stood in the void like a rock. He released a faint demonic aura that lingered in the void. He was like a demon lord who had descended to the world, revealing a kind of conceit and confidence. In a flash, Moksha's aura was extremely frightening. Deep in his eyes, his gaze became bright and frightening. Chapter 1692. Du Tingxian looked at Moksha above. He didn't intervene. Instead, he released his consciousness to protect his daughter. Little Xingxing and Du Xiaoyao also didn't intervene. They just watched nervously. They could feel Moksha's strength, but they also believed that Du Xiaofu could deal with him. "Then let's give it a try," Du Xiaofu said while looking at Moksha. His figure flickered with golden light and instantly disappeared. "Back off." Moksha's eyes were cold as he retreated. He stretched out his hand and grabbed Han Qianran's right shoulder with a monstrous demonic aura. Then, he pulled Han Qianran back rapidly. "Stay here." When Du Xiaofu's figure reappeared, he appeared beside Han Qianran like a ghost. The golden claw tore through the void and grabbed Han Qianran's left shoulder. Not good. At this moment, Han Qianran's pupils shrank. Lightning shot out from his eyes. His heart trembled in fear. He once again felt the aura of death surging into the depths of his soul. Qi, in the blink of an eye, Moksha and Du Xiaofu exerted their strength at the same time. One was conceited and powerful with monstrous demonic aura, while the other was overbearing with golden light. Two terrifying forces struck Han Qianran's body at the same time. The demonic aura and the golden light clashed inside Han Qianran's body. Suddenly, a monstrous light burst out from Han Qianran's body. Bang! Bang! Then, under the astonished gazes of the onlookers, Han Qianran's body was torn apart by the two men, one on the left and one on the right, turning into a monstrous blood mist. Little Sovereign's blood glowed brilliantly. Even someone as powerful as Han Qianran was being torn apart by Moksha and Du Xiaofu. Damn it! A dazzling thunderbolt rushed out from the blood mist. It was the soul seed of the soul-extinguishing divine thunder, with Han Qianran's Yuan spirit on it. Han Qianran had fused with the soul-extinguishing divine thunder, but unlike Du Xiaofu, he couldn't fuse his Yuan spirit with the soul seed. For ordinary people, fusing their Yuan spirit with the soul seed was tantamount to courting death. Spiritual thunder was the nemesis of the Yuan spirit and soul. Those who fused with the spiritual thunder would fuse with their physical body, which was already extremely dangerous. Who would dare to try to fuse their soul, primordial spirit, and spiritual lightning like Du Xiaofu? Bzz, Han Qianran's body was torn apart. The soul-extinguishing divine thunder was only the size of an adult's palm, but it was dazzling lightning. When the soul-destroying godly thunder soul seed appeared, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the surrounding void. Lightning arcs filled the sky and dazzling lightning runes covered the sky. But at this moment, Han Qianran's Yuan spirit appeared on the soul-extinguishing divine thunder. It was only the size of a baby, but a powerful soul aura was terrifying. When fusing with the soul-extinguishing divine thunder, Han Qianran had already erased the original intelligence of the soul-extinguishing divine thunder. At this moment, relying on the familiar aura, Han Qianran summoned the soul seed of the soul-extinguishing divine thunder and quickly escaped with the Yuan spirit. Swish! Moksha pointed at Han Qianran's primordial spirit. The fingerprint pierced through the void and directly penetrated Han Qianran's Yuan spirit. The poor Han Qianran was sandwiched between Du Xiaofu and Moksha. Before he could figure out the situation, his soul was completely destroyed. I killed him, not you. Moksha said with a smile. His eyes were wrapped in demonic chi. Whoosh! Silver gold lightning flashed out from between Du Xiaofu's eyebrows and directly devoured the energy of Han Qianran's broken Yuan spirit. This was the effect of the soul-devouring divine thunder in Du Xiaogang's Yuan spirit. By devouring others' Yuan spirits and souls, he could strengthen his Yuan spirit. Han Qianran's Yuan spirit was so powerful that even if it was broken, it would still be very beneficial to devour it. He is also dead. Du Xiaofu looked at Moksha. Golden light flashed in his eyes and the shadow of the golden-winged rock stretched out behind him. Golden light filled the sky. Sizzle, the soul seed of the soul-extinguishing divine thunder was suspended in the void. Without the aura of Han Qianran's Yuan spirit, it was like a newborn baby. It was pure and innocent and full of curiosity. The soul seed of the soul-extinguishing divine thunder fluctuated in the void. It seemed to be attracted by the lightning aura of Moksha and Du Xiaofu. It was curiously looking at something and did not leave. However, the terrifying lightning and power surrounding the soul seed of the soul-extinguishing divine thunder was no small matter. It was very shocking. It's the soul seed of the spiritual thunder. The soul seed of the spiritual thunder was suspended in the air and countless people in the square below looked at it with burning passion. The soul seed of the spiritual thunder was definitely a treasure among treasures. Integrating a spiritual lightning into one's body would bring about endless benefits. However, at this moment, no one dared to act rashly. Moksha and Du Xiaofu were fighting. Even someone as powerful as Han Qianran had been torn apart alive. No one dared to fight for it. The soul-extinguishing divine thunder is mine. Looking at the soul seed of the soul-extinguishing divine thunder in front of him, Moksha withdrew his smile. His handsome face suddenly became fierce. The runes on his body flashed and the mysterious runes on the talisman shone. In the rolling demon chi, he directly reached out his hand to grab the soul seed of the soul-extinguishing divine thunder. The soul-extinguishing divine thunder has nothing to do with you. Du Xiaofu's figure flashed out quickly. Starlight gushed out from his body and the star ultimacy was activated. It seemed that a star would fall from the void to stop moksha. At the same time, he reached out his hand to grab the soul seed of the soul-extinguishing divine thunder. Small trick, break. Moksha was not afraid. Divine light spread out from his body and turned into a divine ring. Wherever it passed, the starlight was destroyed. A demon chi fingerprint pierced through the void to stop Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu flapped his wings and moved unpredictably. He quickly avoided the fingerprint that pierced through the void. However, at the same time, moksha had arrived and pounced on the soul-extinguishing divine thunder again. If it's not yours, then it can't be yours. Du Xiaofu shouted. The shadow of the rock's golden wings flashed behind him. The rock soared to the 9 heavens and launched a fierce attack. The terrifying attack swept out violently and shattered a large area of the void. Humph! Mo Sha shouted as an ancient armor appeared in front of his body. Demonic chi filled the air and there were also arcs of lightning flashing around. This was a treasure. Its power could shake the 9 heavens. The rolling demon chi lingered around it, making it look like a demon king had descended to the mortal world. The two figures confronted each other. In the time it took for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, dozens of moves were exchanged. It made people's souls tremble as they watched from afar. Rumble, a demon king and a demon king. They fought until the surrounding runes were resplendent and their auras shook the heavens. This devil religion moksha is actually so powerful that he can be on par with the demon king Du Xiaofu. The spectators in the square were shocked. The devil religion moksha was actually able to fight with the demon king Du Xiaofu. This was too inconceivable. They could not believe it and held their breaths as they watched the battle. The demon king Du Xiaofu has finally met his match. Kong Sansi, Zhou Xiaoluo, Su Yangzi, Mo Runan, and the others exclaimed. They could see that even the demon king Du Xiaofu could not gain the upper hand. It was enough to show how powerful moksha was. As for moksha, this originally unknown figure, everyone was even more amazed at this moment. After all, the whole world now knew how powerful Du Xiaofu was. There was no one in the same generation who could be his match. He was truly invincible. But at this moment, that invincible existence had met an opponent who was on par with him. Each new generation excels the previous one. The elders of the various clans, as well as many old rogue cultivators far away from the square, were all amazed by the scene before them. Those two young people were too powerful. They were already so stunning at such a young age. If they were given time, how much attention would they reach? Rumble, suddenly, a terrifying muffled sound came from the void above the square. The whole square suddenly trembled violently. An indescribable strange aura fluctuation came from the void above. It was as if a demon god was awakening. Walala, almost at the same time, the 10 stone platforms in the square bloomed with mysterious runes and flashed with light. The supreme tomb is about to appear. In an instant, it attracted the attention of many people in the square. They exclaimed loudly and trembled with excitement. Above the void, clouds rolled and let out a strange buzzing sound. It was as if something was descending, and there was a divine light shooting out from the void. Du Xiaofu and moksha also separated after a brief contact and looked at the void. Then, the two seemed to have a tacit understanding at the same time. Both of them released their nirvana realm aura without holding back. Rumble. That terrifying aura caused the space to rumble, as if it wanted to turn the world upside down. Rumble, at the same time, 9 divine rings that resembled divine flames appeared in the void above their heads. Heavenly music resounded in the void around them, causing the heavens and earth to rumble under the pressure. That horrifying sound was like countless heavenly drums beating at the same time. Both of them had 9 divine rings in the sky. The majestic aura and heavenly might descended, causing all the living beings in the square to be shocked for no reason. They couldn't help but want to crawl. At this moment, in the void above the square, the two young men stood in the sky accompanied by the heavenly might. The terrifying pressure was about to explode the void. A Nirvana Realm Grand Supreme, Moksha is also a Nirvana Realm Grand Supreme. Roar! The living beings in the square couldn't help but tremble and exclaim. Divine light shot out and trembled. Moksha of the devil religion was also a Nirvana Realm Grand Supreme. Fight! Moksha looked straight at Du Xiaofu. The divine light in his eyes fluctuated like stormy waves. The surrounding demonic aura rose and fell like the ocean. Runes surged. Fight! Du Xiaofu's eyes flashed with purple-gold lightning. He didn't stop, and his figure flew across the sky like a golden rainbow. Boom! In an instant, the two of them carried the supreme strength and fiercely clashed again. Chapter 1693. Roar! The two of them were fighting to the extreme. Their supreme strength, along with all kinds of beast energy, roared and collided, shattering the void. At this moment, the movements of the two seemed simple, but this kind of battle was the most dangerous and terrifying. Every move seemed ordinary, but they contained the comprehension of their entire life, and contained the power of supreme beings. Boom! The void shattered. Moksha's armor was wrapped in electric arcs, demonic energy surged, and his eyes were terrifying. He appeared amidst the monstrous beast energy. He smashed the void with his palm, and with the monstrous demonic energy and supreme strength, he quickly slammed towards Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu was not afraid. He was like a human rock, and his palm collided with Moksha's. Rumble! The two of them fought, and endless electric arcs and mysterious runes exploded. The terrifying Xian Qi was like a vast ocean, incomparably violent. Again and again, the unparalleled showdowns left everyone dumbfounded. The two young people were actually so powerful, and it made people exclaim. Lian Qinyan, Fire Cloud Evil God, the green-clothed youth full of vitality, the black-clothed youth with hellish eyes, Zhou Xiaoluo, Mo Runan, and Heng Luan were all stunned. Boom! In the void above, divine light continued to shoot out, and the mysterious runes on the 10 stone platforms became more and more resplendent. Just above the 10 stone platforms, an illusory image began to appear, like a mirage, filled with light. Looking at it from afar, it looked like a huge ancient building. It was vast and magnificent. Light permeated the surroundings like a rain of light. There was an ancient aura that transcended time and space. The supreme tomb has appeared. In the square, more and more creatures were exclaiming. Everyone came here to search for opportunities in the divine domain, and the thing that made all the creatures and major forces think about the most was the biggest opportunity hidden in the supreme tomb. Now that the supreme tomb appeared, all the creatures were trembling with excitement. Their eyes were red, and their auras surged, wanting to fight for it. Be prepared, the supreme tomb will only open for a short while, and then the exit will be closed. Fight for time. The supreme tomb will only open for a short time, fight for time to enter. The exit is open. Attack with all your might. We must enter. The elders of the various great clans on the stone platforms were giving instructions to their juniors. Their voices were trembling with nervousness. The greatest opportunity in the entire divine domain was inside. It was too astonishing, and they had to obtain it. Get close and prepare to fight. The creatures that were originally scattered around the plaza were afraid of the strength of the various families and clans in the center of the plaza. They didn't dare to get close. However, at this moment, they were no longer afraid. Their auras began to surge as they approached the center of the square. Some of the big clans and experts were also approaching the 10 stone platforms. Boom, on the square, the auras of all living beings were surging. Some of the rogue cultivators who were hiding no longer concealed themselves and began to release their true auras. In the void above, the battle between Moksha and Du Xiaofu was still intense. Their lightning profound collided. Devil Qi and golden light intertwined. Every move they made was like an erupting volcano. Their profound energy was vast and mighty like waves that swept out in all directions. Fight! Moksha shouted in a deep voice. His hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were filled with devil Qi, as if he was in the devil domain. The lightning on his armor soared into the sky. Fight! The demon king's robe fluttered in the wind. He summoned the purple gold heavenly tower. Sword light filled the sky. It contained the supreme power and cut through the void. It was accompanied by the cries of ghosts and gods, the roars of dragons and tigers, and the cries of birds and turtles. The two of them also sensed the arrival of the supreme tomb. They wanted to end this battle quickly. They gradually approached the soul-extinguishing thunder soul seed that was constantly jumping around. They were using their full strength in the battle. Du Xiaofu had already activated his martial vein and supreme power. Moksha's martial vein was very mysterious. It seemed to be related to devil Qi. Obviously, that martial vein was extraordinary. It contained the supreme power infused with the supreme power. Its power increased even more. Rumbling sounds erupted in the void. Bright talismans were densely packed, and the sonorous sound was deafening. One was the demon monarch, one was the demon king. It was as if a demon controlled the four seas, a ping soared into the sky. This type of battle could shatter the void with a raise of their hands. All of the creatures were stupefied. That type of battle was too powerful. They didn't have the qualifications to approach at all. That was a battle between peak supreme beings. Normal supreme nirvanas didn't even have the qualifications to be affected. The supreme tomb became clearer and clearer. Radiance scattered outwards, invisibly connecting with the 10 stone platforms. Endless dazzling talismans spread outwards. An ancient aura pervaded the air, making everyone in the plaza feel carefree and relaxed. Right now, the creatures on the stone platforms even more so felt all of the cells in their bodies become comfortable. Walala, that mirage-like ancient building appeared in the void. It was as if it was real. It was as if a second world had appeared in the void. It was as if a second parallel world had appeared in the void. It was called the Supreme Tomb, but it actually had nothing to do with a tomb. It was only rumored that even supreme beings would die inside. There were great opportunities inside, but at the same time, there were also great dangers. Every time the Supreme Tomb opened, even supreme beings would die inside. It was like a place where supreme beings were buried. That was why it was called the Supreme Tomb. The Supreme Tomb has appeared. Charge! That ancient building appeared clearly. A rain of light scattered outwards. Ancient aura rippled outwards. The creatures in the surroundings couldn't hold themselves back any longer. Charge! Seize the opportunity. This was especially true for the creatures behind the plaza. They feared that they would miss out on the decisive opportunity. Someone shouted loudly. Immediately, large amounts of figures rushed towards the Supreme Tomb. So, they wanted to seize the opportunity and enter the Supreme Tomb to seize the opportunity. Charge! Even the 9 great families on the stone platforms couldn't hold themselves back. They wanted to seize the opportunity. Don't act rashly. The Supreme Tomb's entrance hasn't opened yet. Those who enter will most likely suffer misfortune. There were elders from the various great families who immediately stopped their disciples and clansmen. However, countless creatures around the plaza already erupted with power. They rushed out from all directions, throwing themselves at the Supreme Tomb. Shio. However, the creatures who rushed out the fastest, as soon as they approached the Supreme Tomb, the scattered talisman light's aura immediately changed, turning into countless streaks of sword radiance. They were resplendent and dazzling, surging with killing intent as they hacked apart the void. It was already too late. Those streaks of sword radiance were extraordinary, definitely not something ordinary creatures could block. A large group of creatures who were approaching the supreme tomb from all directions were instantly pierced through by the streaks of sword radiance. They let out mournful screams. Those who had life-saving talismans were taken away by them. Those who didn't had their souls destroyed directly, turning into a bloody mist in the air. Retreat, quickly retreat. The creatures were terrified. They retreated in horror, no longer daring to rush forward. Many of them brushed past the Grim Reaper. They sucked in a breath of cold air, their souls still trembling. Looking at those creatures who were rushing to the front and retreating in panic, some of the 9 great families and other great powers revealed cold smiles. No one pitied those creatures who had suffered a calamity. Humans die for wealth, birds die for food. Since the first day of cultivation, living creatures had stepped into all kinds of opportunities and dangerous situations. Every day, there would be creatures falling and suffering calamities. Everyone had already gotten used to it. In this world where the strong were respected, the fall of the weak wouldn't be pitied. Only the strong would be respected and revered. You can only enter after the Supreme Tomb's entrance opens. After entering the Supreme Tomb, your life-saving talisman will lose its effect. You must be careful. The elders of the 9 great families repeatedly warned the younger generation. Boom, the battle between Du Xiaofu and Moksha was still ongoing, but it was getting fiercer and fiercer. Moksha's hands were covered in armor. On his hands, a pair of golden black gloves appeared, like a spiritual armor covering his palms. Lightning and demonic chi intertwined, actually able to directly resist Du Xiaofu's purple-gold heavenly fault. In order to forcefully resist, the golden spear clashed and sparks flew in all directions. Roar, the purple-gold heavenly fault's soul was boiling. It was unknown whether it was because of Moksha's armor or the gloves. It was very excited and wanted to devour it, but it didn't know how to do so. Bang, 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 Du Xiaofu and Mo Sha forcefully clashed once. As the purple-gold heavenly fault and the black-gold glove clashed, the two of them clenched their left fists and fiercely collided 3 times in a flash. These 3 strikes were no small matter. Resplendent lightning and demonic chi mixed with golden light shot out in all directions. Du Xiaofu's left hand was numb. Moksha's physical body made Du Xiaofu surprised. It was also incomparably strong. Coupled with the strange black-gold gloves, it was as hard as steel that had been tempered thousands of times. However, Moksha was even more surprised than Du Xiaofu. His fist was numb even with the protection of the treasure. If it wasn't for the treasure, his fist would probably be bleeding right now. That guy's physical body was actually above his, definitely the strongest physical body he had ever encountered. Qi La. The 3 fists separated as soon as they collided. Du Xiaofu attacked again. The purple-gold heavenly fault in his hand emitted sword light. The tyrannical sword path contained the strength of a supreme being, and slashed towards Moksha's face. 9 divine rings shone brightly. Not enough. Moksha coldly shouted and waved his hand to block. The center of the black-gold gloves contained the strength of a supreme being. It erupted with demonic chi and resplendent lightning, forming a strange vortex. A terrifying and dazzling light spread out, forming a huge devouring force that swallowed the ripples in the surrounding space, causing the space to crumble inch by inch. It also immediately imprisoned Du Xiaofu's sword light, and was about to devour Du Xiaofu's purple-gold heavenly fault as well. Qi La. At the same time, Moksha's left fist was like the birth of a demon god. Demonic chi surged, with resplendent runes fluctuating. The punch was incomparably fast and violent, shattering the void and instantly landing on Du Xiaofu's chest. But at this moment, Du Xiaofu's lips curled into a cruel smile. His left fist was like a rainbow, carrying the roar of a dragon and the cry of an elephant. Resplendent golden light and surging lightning arcs contained the strength of a supreme being. The punch violently blasted out, tyrannical and disdainful. In the next moment, Du Xiaofu's punch also landed on Moksha's face. This was the weakest part of Moksha's body. It was the only part that wasn't covered by that extraordinary armor. Bang bang, two muffled sounds exploded in the void almost at the same time. Mo Sha's fist was too powerful. Du Xiaofu's chest was smashed open, revealing a bloody hole. It was so deep that one could almost see the bottom. It was so deep that one could see the bone, and light golden blood gushed out. With the level of Du Xiaofu's physical body in cultivation, being able to shatter Du Xiaofu's physical body with a punch was enough to show how powerful Moksha was. But there was no doubt about Du Xiaofu's strength. Punch after punch, he was incomparably ferocious. Under Du Xiaofu's punch and the low muffled sounds, the destructive power caused the surrounding space to surge and boil. When the punch landed on Moksha's face, it directly destroyed his face and smashed his head. The demonic chi dissipated, and blood spurted out. Then, Moksha's entire body exploded. The armor and black golden gloves on his body scattered to the side, emitting resplendent light. Seeing Moksha being blown apart by Du Xiaofu's all-out attack, this scene shocked everyone and made the surrounding living beings' hair stand on end. Chapter 1694. Moksha was killed. At this moment, although almost everyone was paying attention to the supreme tomb, they were also paying attention to the shocking battle. Moksha was blown apart by Du Xiaofu's punch, which shocked everyone. Some people even clearly saw that Moksha didn't have a life-saving talisman between his eyebrows from the beginning to the end. If he was killed, then he was really killed. Blood rain poured down, but it didn't disperse. The blood mist was accompanied by demonic chi and lingered with runes. Something's not right, but at this moment, Du Xiaofu felt that something was wrong. Moksha's shattered blood mist still had vitality. There were mysterious runes flashing and purple-gold electric arcs fluctuating, revealing a very familiar aura. Whoosh! Without any hesitation, Du Xiaofu felt that something was wrong. His figure immediately swept towards the soul-extinguishing thunder soul seed like lightning, wanting to seize the soul-extinguishing thunder soul seed first. Du Xiaofu's figure pierced through the void and was about to reach the soul-extinguishing thunder soul seed. You can't get it. Abruptly, Mo Sha's voice rang out. From within the blood mist, a ray of blood-colored demonic chi pierced through the void, akin to a burning blood-colored divine flame. Accompanied by mysterious runes, it transformed into a sharp sword that slashed towards Du Xiaofu. At the same time, the blood light fluctuated, and purple-gold electric arcs surged. Then, under the dumbfounded gazes of the crowd, Moksha, who had just turned into a blood mist, erupted with purple-gold electric arcs in the blood mist that didn't disperse, and instantly recovered to its original state. Clang! Du Xiaofu turned around and slashed out with his purple-gold heavenly fault, blocking the blood-colored demonic chi sword light. The golden dagger axe erupted, causing the surrounding void to sink, resisting the terrifying sword light. But at the same time, Du Xiaofu's eyes changed. Moksha, who had just been shattered, had recovered to its original state. His body rippled with purple-gold electric arcs, and the familiar aura became more and more obvious, causing the purple thunder profound cauldron in his body to roar. Purple-gold profound thunder, immortal Xian body. Du Xiaofu spat out these words. He was truly shocked. That familiar aura allowed Du Xiaofu to clearly sense the mysteries of Moksha's body. It was the purple-gold profound bomb and the indestructible profound body. The mysterious armor once again covered Moksha's body, and the black and gold gloves covered his hands. At this moment, Moksha had completely recovered. However, the playful smile at the corner of his mouth had gradually turned dark and cold. The square was eerily silent. Previously, when Du Xiaofu fought against Qin Wudi, the scene of him not dying was already shocking enough. However, at this moment, Moksha was also like this. This left everyone dumbstruck and stupefied. Another unkillable existence. His aura just now was similar to that of the demon king Du Xiaofu. The experts in the plaza exclaimed in shock. On the stone platform, Jialo Jueliao, the mysterious purple-robed figure, and the others were also shocked. In their hearts, Moksha was an invincible existence among his peers. There was no one in the same realm who could match him. At this moment, Moksha was blasted apart by Du Xiaofu's punch. He suffered a great loss, which was equivalent to being killed once. I really didn't expect that you would be able to kill me once. Moksha looked at Du Xiaogang. His gloomy lips curled into a self-mocking smile. You have that thing on you, right? Du Xiaofu looked at Moksha and felt the aura of the purple gold Xian bomb. No wonder when he first saw Moksha, he felt a different and familiar aura. Now that he saw Moksha's immortal Xian body, Du Xiaofu was even more certain that Moksha had a purple thunder Xian cauldron on him. The other purple thunder Xian cauldrons that disappeared in the sealed lands of the 8 continents were related to Moksha. Don't you have one on you too? It turns out that the remaining one is really on you. I've searched high and low for it, only to find it by chance. Moksha looked at Du Xiaofu and laughed. If I'm not wrong, you haven't completely refined your body. If I can blast you apart once, I can destroy you again. Du Xiaofu said. His robe fluttered in the wind. He felt that Moksha's immortal Xian body was different from his own. They hadn't truly reached the stage of destruction. And in the depths of his heart, Du Xiaofu also had an answer as to why he didn't have a life-saving talisman. Even someone as powerful as Moksha didn't have a life-saving talisman. With Moksha's strength, it was almost impossible for him to encounter any life-threatening danger in the divine domain. The divine domain was related to the lords of the 3,000 worlds, and the purple thunder Xian cauldron was also related to the 3,000 worlds. Perhaps, with the purple thunder Xian cauldron on him, he was restricted by the divine domain and couldn't have a life-saving talisman. Moksha's eyes were filled with demonic aura. Although he had the immortal Xian body, he couldn't reach the extreme and hadn't truly succeeded. He had merged with the purple thunder Xian cauldron for a long time, but he couldn't reach the final step. But the man in front of him, he felt that he should have cultivated the immortal Xian body to the point of complete success and was above him. Phew, Moksha took a deep breath and the corners of his mouth curled up. Once again, he flashed his signature playful smile and said, "You can only kill me once. You won't have another chance. Do you want to use that thing?" Du Xiaofu looked at Moksha in a domineering manner, but he was secretly on guard. If he used the purple thunder Xian cauldron, the world would be in turmoil and there would be great waves. Not to that extent. At first, I just wanted to know how strong you are. To be able to exceed my expectations, you are worthy enough for me to use my true strength. And you will no longer be my opponent, because, rumble, when Moksha's voice fell, heavenly sounds exploded in the void above his head, like countless heavenly drums beating at the same time. It was no longer 9 rings of divine fire in the sky, but 10 rings of divine fire. The 10 rings of divine fire in the sky was no less powerful than Du Xiaojing's 10 rings of divine fire in the sky, but there were some differences between the two. It was just that the pressure was overwhelming, causing the surrounding mountains to tremble, the square to tremble, and the living beings to prostrate themselves. When the 10 rings of divine fire appeared, Moksha's aura blended with the heavens and the earth. A peerless demonic monarch appeared in the sky, and a vast pressure surged out. He was extraordinary, shocking the past and dazzling the present. Because I am a complete great sovereign, you will no longer be my opponent. This is my true strength. Moksha said. His eyes regained the invincible confidence. This was his true strength. He fought against Du Xiaofu with the strength of a great sovereign. He wanted to defeat Du Xiaofu at the same level, but he lost. However, he was not depressed. After all, this was his true strength. The complete great sovereign's nirvana was a glorious era in the ancient era. Only those who were truly peerless could step into it. In the ancient era, any complete great sovereign could shake the past and dazzle the present, leaving behind endless legends. And he, a complete great sovereign's nirvana, had stepped into it in the present era. My God, 10 rings of divine fire, a complete great sovereign, an existence that is on par with the innate saint. Another monstrous genius. Everyone in the square was stunned. A complete great sovereign's nirvana was a legendary existence. They were also peerless geniuses in the ancient era, able to compete with the ancient era's almighties. How powerful and terrifying. Today, an innate saint and a complete great sovereign's nirvana had appeared. Both of them were legendary existences in the ancient era, which made everyone shudder in fear. That guy is so strong. He has actually reached that level. Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing were also moved at this moment. They were extraordinary. Their cultivation was like a boat sailing with the current. Stepping into the great sovereign realm was also like crushing dry weeds and smashing rotten wood. Their natural talents were already unparalleled in the world. However, at this moment, seeing Moksha's complete great sovereign's nirvana, Du Xiaoyao and Little Xingxing felt a great impact in their hearts. There is always someone better than you. Innate talent is one of them. Cultivation is the most important. Grandpa Wu is right. On Little Xingxing's tender face, his clear eyes were flickering with golden flames. His heart was surging. One step at a time. It's like waking up from a dream and being enlightened. Du Xiaoyao muttered softly. Within her innate spirit eyes, there was a golden light fluctuating, filling the air with boundless radiance. Too strong. Zhou Xiaoluo, Mo Runan, Heng Luan, Huang Linger, Lian Qingrong, Fire Cloud Evil God, Jialo Jueyu, and the others were all deeply shocked. To them, the impact they had on their hearts was undoubtedly much greater. Rumble, at this moment, the supreme tomb had already stabilized. The light connected the 10 stone platforms. In the center, a vortex entrance had already begun to appear. Divine light wrapped around it, and an ancient aura spread out. The 10 stone platforms were the closest to the entrance of the supreme tomb. It was as if they were floating in the air. The ancient aura made the souls of the living beings on the stone platforms feel warm. The supreme tomb has opened. Enter quickly. At this moment, the entire place was filled with exclamations. The entire square was in an uproar. Boom! 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 At this moment, countless auras exploded in the square. Runes soared into the sky. The power was shocking and vast. Roar, in the air, beastly roars were like thunder. Countless beasts roared and hissed. Chapter 1695. Charge, auras surged and symbols interweaved. Silhouettes rushed towards the entrance of the supreme tomb, intending to rush inside. Enter. On the 10 stone platforms, the disciples of the great clans had already rushed into the sky. The 10 platforms occupied the initiative, so they were even faster. The entrance of the supreme tomb was very small, so small that the demonic beasts couldn't enter at all. Countless creatures rushed forward in an instant, fighting for the chance to enter the supreme tomb. Everyone enter. Du Yunlong said to the Huang country and the heavenly beast hall. Moksha and his third brother were still fighting in the sky, but he believed that his third brother would have a way to deal with them. They couldn't delay the Huang country from entering the supreme tomb, they had to fight for the Huang country's fortune. Rumble. In an instant, symbols interweaved in the sky above the plaza. Many creatures only had a small entrance to enter the supreme tomb, and immediately, a fierce battle broke out. At this moment, everything was for the sake of the great powers and the great clan's fortune. The disciples of the 9 great clans weren't polite to each other. They didn't kill each other, but fought with all their strength. For the sake of the supreme tomb, no one could endure or be polite. There was no room for politeness and tolerance. In an instant, the 9 great clans, the Phoenix clan, and the Huang country clashed together. Roar, beasts roared and secret techniques shook the sky, causing the void to boil. Their auras could move mountains and overturn seas. It was incomparably intense. Let's enter the supreme tomb first. Yi Piaoling looked at Du Xiaofu and Moksha in the sky, her pitch-black eyes fluctuated. The Huang country needed someone to fight for it. She waved her sleeve and the 18 heavenly guards rushed out. They were like 18 sharp weapons, swift and fierce, no one dared to block them. Let's enter the supreme tomb first. Du Yunlong, Du Xiaoman, Du Xiaoqing, Little Tiger, Gue Che, Gu Qin Mo, Master Yao, Jin Qing Chun, General, Gu Xinyan, Dong Lijiao, Purple Tianzuan, Yu Xianzi, Ghost Child, Wu Kei, and the others all rushed out, fighting to enter the supreme tomb. In the sky above, a fierce battle broke out. Whoever approached the entrance would immediately be surrounded and attacked. No one could easily enter the supreme tomb. Among the various great clans, Qi Jiajun, Zhou Yu, and the others had already made their moves. Their bodies shone, and all types of secret techniques were added to their bodies as they soared through the air. However, they were also blocked by countless experts in the surroundings. Immeasurable heavenly sovereign. Amitabha. The Taoists and Buddhists made their moves. Divine light shot out and Buddha shadows appeared in the sky. This chaotic battle almost caused the heavens and earth to collapse. In an instant, numerous figures were swept down like kites with their strings cut. Bang, 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 some people met with calamity and were taken away by their life-saving talismans. There were also some who had long since lost their life-saving talismans and turned into a rain of blood, their souls extinguished. However, Qi Yeshi, Zhou Xiaoluo, Jiangchen, Lian Qingrong, Fire Cloud Evil God, Kong Sansi, Heng Luan, Su Yangzi, Huang Linger, and the other paragons didn't do anything. They stood on the stone platform and looked up at the demon monarch and the demon king. A perfected supreme nirvana realm expert had appeared, and they wanted to know the result of this battle. Living beings were fighting. In the sky above, Moksha and Du Xiaofu, who had 10 divine rings fluctuating, naturally noticed it. At this moment, both of their eyes were filled with blazing light. One of them had a monstrous demonic aura, while the other had a purple-gold lightning arc that began to rise like the sun. There's not much time left. They are about to decide the victor. Mo Runan looked at the sky above, and her eyes were filled with a dazzling radiance. Let's end this. Moksha opened his mouth. The perfected supreme nirvana realm expert's power fluctuated. His entire body was covered with dazzling lightning runes. 10 divine rings appeared in the sky, enveloping a large area of the void. Along with the torrential demonic aura, it crushed everything and rushed towards Du Xiaofu. It was simple and direct, but at this moment, this was Moksha's full strength. It seemed simple, but only a true expert could feel the vast destructive power. The terrifying power enveloped the void, and all kinds of profound techniques merged together. It was like nature itself, and it was impossible to find any flaw. This was the perfected supreme nirvana realm, which could destroy everything. Chi la la, this terrifying power swept across, and the void quietly collapsed inch by inch, turning into a dark void. Only the surging demonic aura and 10 divine rings appeared in the sky. It's too strong. Is this the perfected supreme nirvana realm expert's power? The supreme beings below were also exclaiming in admiration. That terrifying power made them shudder in fear just by looking at it. Du Tingshuan's eyes were fluctuating with lightning arcs at this moment. He looked at Du Xiaofu, but his expression was very calm. His hair fluttered behind him, and he looked inexplicably sharp. Chi la la. 9 divine rings appeared in the sky, and Du Xiaofu also made his move. A tyrannical energy fluctuation swept out with purple gold lightning arcs. Resplendent and dazzling purple lightning runes surged in all directions, as if a purple-gold sun was about to rise in this square. Everything happened in a short instant. The resplendent purple-gold lightning arcs were boundless, and a huge purple-gold golden-winged rock phantom spread its wings and soared into the sky from Du Xiaofu's body. This purple-gold golden-winged rock phantom enveloped Du Xiaofu's figure, and it seemed to have merged with the supreme Nirvana realm expert's power. The purple-gold thunder rock flapped its wings and soared into the sky. It was as if Du Xiaofu had transformed into a real golden-winged rock. Its entire body was glittering with purple-gold lightning arcs, and its ferocious aura spread out, causing the void to tremble. Gee, the purple-gold thunder rock screeched, and it pierced through the clouds and cracked the stones. The phantom spread its huge wings and directly charged towards Moksha, as if it wanted to soar into the sky and cross the blue dome of heaven. The Demon King is also terrifying. When the huge purple-gold thunder rock appeared, its terrifying aura made even a supreme being tremble. The huge purple-gold thunder rock and the perfect supreme being's power collided, and it was as if two spaces had collided together. Chi-la-la, the violent destructive aura that burst out from the surroundings caused the square space to tremble, and it shook everyone's soul. Gee! The purple-gold thunder rock's eyes shot out purple-gold lightning arcs, and it was as if two suns were shining in the sky, overlooking the world. It didn't back down at all, and it directly collided with the former. Moksha's perfect supreme being's Nirvana realm expert swept out, releasing a destructive aura, and demonic aura filled the sky. Rumble, such a collision caused the void to explode unceasingly. At this moment, Du Xiaofu activated the true rock's divine ability, fusing the lightning martial vein and the supreme being's Nirvana realm expert's power. It was as if a real golden-winged rock was soaring in the sky, controlling the supreme being's power, and releasing an endless tyrannical aura. Rumble, suddenly, the situation changed again. Spiritual lightning descended from the perfect supreme being's Nirvana realm expert's power, and it was like a tiger that had grown wings. The purple-gold thunder rock screeched. Although it wasn't afraid of the spiritual lightning, and its huge illusory body could even devour the spiritual lightning, the destructive power was far greater than the absorption power. Ka, the purple-gold thunder rock began to crack, and it was being suppressed, falling into a disadvantageous position. Bang bang bang, at the entrance of the supreme tomb, the battle at this moment was intense to the point of madness. All the living beings were using their full strength, and all kinds of treasures were activated. Some people had obtained ancient inheritances and shocking treasures in the divine domain, and they no longer hid and held nothing back. Suddenly, many dark horses appeared. Originally, these living beings weren't too outstanding, but now, they had soared into the sky, shocking everyone. It seems that the suppression power is getting weaker and weaker. An old man made a move, and he was immediately surprised to find that they were able to use more and more strength that exceeded the initial domain realm. Set up the array. Some of the big clans and factions were setting up a joint attack array to escort their disciples into the supreme tomb. The terrifying array appeared, and it filled the sky, making it impossible for rogue cultivators to get close. Be careful. In the intense battle, Yi Piaoling's figure appeared beside a graceful figure, and a huge demonic beast behind her was blown away. The woman's light red curly hair flowed down, and there seemed to be mist around her. She looked at Yi Piaoling from the side. Her face was beautiful, and her skin was as white as snow. Her eyes were full of charm, and she said, "Don't worry about me, I still have a life-saving talisman. You go fight for the supreme tomb." She was Wanzhou's 100-flower gates Hua Zimo. She had met Yi Piaoling in the divine domain, and now she knew what was most important. She didn't want to be a burden to the 18 heavenly generals. She knew that he wasn't good with words, but he had always been protecting her in the dark. She felt warmth in her heart, and she knew that she didn't misjudge him. Okay. Yi Piaoling nodded, and looked around. At this moment, the joint attack array formed by the big clans and factions was rampaging. 18 heavenly beasts holy slaughter array. In the next moment, Yi Piaoling spoke, and the 18 heavenly generals immediately got into formation. The roars of beasts were like thunder, and the 18 of them shone brightly. As the wind and clouds surged, the 18 of them all underwent a strange transformation, and they turned into 18 terrifying beasts. Roar! Wuji! The 18 huge beasts included the golden-winged roc, the Xianyun scarlet dragon, the ancient heavenly fox, the Huadou, the Bai and the Xiaji. A total of 18 strange beasts roared ferociously, and with the golden-winged roc's shadow around Yi Piaoling as the leader, they covered the sky, and appeared in the sky. At this moment, the formation appeared, and it was much more terrifying than any other formation around. Wherever it passed, it would sweep away everything, and several formations were destroyed. No one dared to stand in its way. Amitabha, 18 Luo Formation. The Buddha's shadow appeared in the sky, and the Buddhists blocked in front of the 18 heavenly beasts' holy slaughter array. This was the 18 Luo formation set up by the Buddhists, and not the one set up by the boundless cult. These were the 18 monks of the Buddhists. They were shrouded in golden light in the Sanskrit chant array, and it was as if they had become Buddhas on the spot. They descended with strange phenomena, and the golden light illuminated the sky. It was as if the 18 arhats had descended, and they were chanting sutras, waving prayer flags, spinning Buddhist prayer beads, knocking on wooden fish, and waving the demon-subduing pestle. The 18 Buddhist shadows and Sanskrit chants were like a huge whirlwind formed by golden divine light, and it was about to crush the entire square. Everyone in the sky gasped. Under the terrifying might, those who weren't strong enough directly prostrated themselves in worship, as if they wanted to put down their weapons and become Buddhas on the spot. The terrifying 18 Luo formation, accompanied by a terrifying Buddhist pressure, caused the Buddha's shadow to shine brightly, and it was about to suppress the 18 ferocious beasts. Chapter 1696. The Buddhists were led by Heng Qi and the others. There was a world of difference between the 18 Luo formations and the boundless sex Luo formations. Another 18 Luo formations. Let's just break them. Yi Piaoling's battle intent blazed from within the golden-winged roc's phantom. She used her supreme power and her divine ring appeared in the sky. With a single thought, the 18 celestial guards understood. The formation changed and the demonic beast phantoms disappeared. Amidst the surging dark clouds, 18 bloody auras swept out in all directions. In an instant, the 18 celestial guards gathered together and transformed into a ferocious phantom that was several thousand feet tall. It was like a demon lord had come into being. Its murderous aura filled the sky and made people's hearts palpitate. Break! The ferocious phantom opened its mouth. Its voice boomed like thunder as it suppressed the 18 Luo formations with great might. Boundless light shot out from the void and directly destroyed the 18 Luo formations. Enter! The ferocious phantom transformed into 18 streaks of light. The 18 celestial guards took the lead and entered the sovereign's tomb. Enter! At the same time, Qi Jiajun and Du Yunlong broke out of the encirclement and entered the sovereign's tomb. Whoosh! Next, Hui Yuan of the famed clan silently broke out of the encirclement and entered the sovereign's tomb. He lost to Du Xiaofu. Right now, he wasn't in the mood to watch Du Xiaofu's battle anymore. He wanted to fight for the greatest opportunity in the sovereign's tomb. Only then would he have a chance to surpass Du Xiaofu again. Screech! Next, several phoenixes appeared. They flapped their wings and broke out of the encirclement. They transformed into 3 extraordinary men and 2 alluring women. But in the end, only 1 man and 1 woman entered the sovereign's tomb. The rest were immediately blocked by other powerful creatures. Roar! Several powerful demonic beasts from the beast region soared into the sky and successfully broke out of the encirclement. After paying a heavy price, they forced their way into the sovereign's tomb. Screech! Screech! A screech pierced through the clouds and cracked stone. The ghost chariot violently charged out of the chaotic battle. Blood-red runes erupted. Its body resembled a phoenix and a swan. Its entire body glowed with blood-red light, but it looked ferocious. Its 9 heads roared, and the sound waves reverberated in all directions. Its ferocious aura was enough to shock the world and make ghosts and gods weep. Roar, the illusionary spirit Tiger King charged out, having acquired the legacy of the ancient white tiger. Now that he was a paragon, he could sweep through almost anything, and could even compete with the top experts of the various great clans. Roar! The little tiger rushed out. The darkness heavenly tiger's aura was even more ferocious than the white tiger inheritance's aura on the phantom Tiger King. Black runes soared into the sky, breaking through the encirclement and entering the supreme tomb with the phantom Tiger King. Among the crowd, there were 2 strange figures. They wore robes and hats and wore black patterned masks. Only their eyes were exposed, but they possessed astonishing strength. Their actions were clean and efficient, directly slaughtering their way out and entering the Supreme Being tomb. Charge, seeing that many people had already entered the Supreme Tomb, the void creatures became even more violent. The living beings had already fought until their eyes were red. Accompanied by a lot of bloody mist and miserable cries, the entire scene gradually went out of control. The struggle had already turned into a great calamity. All of the creatures wanted to enter the Supreme Being tomb, and no one was willing to back down. Kaka. In the strongest battle above, the huge purple-gold thunder rock gradually cracked and was being suppressed. Moksha was attacking with all his strength. He had the power of a perfected supreme nirvana, and his body also had terrifying spiritual lightning. It was even more powerful than Giallo Jumi's 9 underworld demonic lightning. Moksha's storm-like attacks were activated and suppressed. He wanted to kill Du Xiaofu. At this moment, the soul-extinguishing thunder soul seed still hadn't left. The soul-extinguishing thunder soul seed was originally attracted to Du Xiaofu and Moksha's lightning aura. After sensing Moksha's spiritual lightning aura, it jumped up. It felt close to him, but it also felt instinctive fear and apprehension. Du Xiaofu was attacking with all his strength. The purple-gold thunder rock soared into the sky, flapping its wings and activating all kinds of profound mysteries. Although Du Xiaofu still hadn't activated his pulse soul, he was fighting with all his strength at this point. It wasn't necessarily a good thing to use more methods. It would only distract him. The power of the Meridian Spirit was extremely strong. However, Du Xiaofu knew that at this moment, it would be hard for it to surpass his own nirvana power. Perfected Supreme Nirvana, Du Xiaofu was also comprehending the perfected Supreme Nirvana on Moksha's body. Moksha reaching this step was beyond Du Xiaofu's expectations. For a long time, Du Xiaofu had thought that he was able to look down on his peers and had never been defeated. Even when he fought with Moksha in Tianhuang mainland, it was a draw. But at this moment, seeing Moksha's perfected Supreme Nirvana, Du Xiaofu's heart trembled. There was always someone better. He was already able to suppress his peers from the 9 great families, but it didn't mean anything. At this moment, Moksha had already reached the 10th wheel of perfected Supreme Nirvana, which made Du Xiaofu's heart tremble. The nirvanic power of a perfected Grand Sovereign was too powerful. Du Xiaofu felt a kind of natural perfection from it. It was as if it was invulnerable, and he couldn't find any flaws. This is the perfected Supreme Nirvana. Du Xiaofu seemed to have comprehended something, and was even more shocked that Moksha had reached this step. This step was like reaching perfection, flawless and flawless. I have already reached perfection, and you are only at the perfected Supreme Nirvana. You are still 1 step away from reaching the first heaven. You are no longer my opponent. Moksha's figure appeared in the void of the 10th wheel of the divine ring, with a sneer in his eyes. He was like a peerless demon lord, and his aura was terrifying. Ka, the purple gold thunder rock's shadow cracked even faster, and the golden talismans were cracking. The lightning arcs were collapsing, and it was getting harder and harder to hold on. At this moment, the surrounding creatures didn't dare to get close to the battle between the two, and all of them stayed far away. The aftermath of the battle wasn't something they could be affected by. Once they were swept by the aftermath, they would be torn apart. Rumble. The power of the perfected supreme nirvana, and the lightning spirit was in the sky. Moksha was constantly bombarding Du Xiaofu, wanting to destroy the void. The strange armor on his body was releasing demonic chi in lightning arcs, and the aura was terrifying. Break! Mo Sha shouted. The nirvana strength of a complete supremacy swept out, creating a heavenly sound. The void surged and rumbled, shaking the heavens and the earth. Walala, under the destructive suppression, Du Xiaofu's huge purple-gold thunder rock's shadow was finally crushed, and it turned into broken lightning arcs and golden talismans before disappearing, revealing his figure. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was being suppressed by Moksha's perfected supreme nirvana. The 9 divine rings above his head were also being suppressed by the 10 divine rings, and they were about to be extinguished. Is the Demon King going to be defeated? On the stone platform in the square, the Supremes were watching intently. They didn't even fight for the Supreme Tomb, as they wanted to know the result of the battle between the two. Looking at Du Xiaofu being suppressed, Su Muxin, Qi Yeshi, and Sima Muhan were all looking serious. Walala, at the same time, the entrance of the Supreme Tomb began to rotate again after the powerful creatures entered, causing the square's stone platform to tremble, and the ancient aura that spanned across time and space fluctuated. Not good, the entrance of the Supreme Tomb is about to close. In an instant, everyone exclaimed. The Supreme Tomb had only been open for a short while, and it was about to close again. The Supreme Tomb was about to close, and the Supremes on the stone platform began to worry. Swoosh, swoosh, some of the Supremes started to move, and Hengluan, Su Yangzi, and the others didn't dare to delay any longer. Mo Runan, Huangling, and the others didn't dare to wait any longer. There wasn't much time left, and they had to fight to enter the Supreme Tomb. Du Xiaofu looked at the Supreme Tomb that was about to close, and his brows twitched. He then said to Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, Su Muxin, Qi Yeshi, Du Xiaoyao, Jialo Jueyu, Jialo Kaling, and the others, I'm fine, let's enter the Supreme Tomb. Enter. As Du Xiaofu's voice fell, Du Xiaoyao, Little Xingxing, and Jialo Jueyu's eyes shone with divine light, and their figures instantly soared into the sky. The hornless dragon and the others also joined in the fight. You guys go in too. Moksha said, as if to Jialo Jueyu and the others. Boom! In an instant, Jialo Jueyu and the mysterious purple-robed figure soared into the sky. Behind them, the auras of many devil religion experts erupted, and they soared into the sky like bolts of lightning. Jiangchen looked at the Supreme Tomb that was about to close, and then looked at the battle between Du Xiaofu and Moksha. His figure soared into the sky, and his baleful aura overflowed. He flew towards the Supreme Tomb, and no one could stop him. Bang, 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 as these supreme beings started to attack, the surrounding void started to tremble violently. The void started to crumble and sink. Rumble, pressure filled the sky, and many divine rings like divine flames appeared in the void, bringing with them a vast and mighty pressure. Boom, Mo Runan's body was covered in blue light, and 6 divine rings surged out. She was also a nirvana supremacy. Rumble, Zhou Xiaolua's beautiful figure soared into the sky, and 9 divine rings appeared in the sky. Zhou Xiaolua's identity as a nirvana supremacy shook the world. Lian Qingyan, fire cloud evil god, the green-robed youth full of vitality, and the black-robed youth with hellish eyes, all of them erupted with power. They were all nirvana supremacy, and they were not below Qi Yeshi, Mo Runan, Kong Sansi, and the others. This was a true gathering of supremes, and they rampaged through the void. Under the heavenly pressure, those who were not nirvana supremacy could not get close at all. Ordinary creatures were directly suppressed by this vast heavenly pressure. The Xian Qi in their bodies solidified, and their souls trembled. These supremes did not attack each other. They only wanted to enter the supreme tomb, and the surrounding creatures were forced to retreat under their pressure. This group of supremes entered the supreme tomb one after another, and no one dared to stop them. Jielo Jueyu soared into the sky, and black runes surged, incomparably domineering. He had 7 divine rings, and he was the same as Dongli Qingqing. The strange purple-robed figure from the devil religion had 6 divine rings, and he was also a nirvana supremacy. Humph! On the stone platform, the heavenly fiend Yelu Han, who had been in seclusion to heal himself, woke up. He looked at the void above him, and his supremacy power was activated. Baleful aura surged, and his figure soared into the sky. At this moment, the commotion in the void above the plaza was too terrifying. The pressure made all living creatures tremble, and their faces were filled with shock. The elders of the various clans were also dumbfounded. The last time the divine domain opened, it had the most nirvana supremacy. This large group of nirvana supremacy gathered together, and it was unlikely to be seen in the outside world. The pressure was so imposing that it made all living creatures tremble, but the visual impact was also unparalleled. Fight! In the distant void of the square, there were a dozen figures flying over at lightning speed. One of them was a man and the other was a woman. They looked majestic and graceful. Above their heads, there were 7 and 9 divine rings respectively. One of them was a nirvana cultivator who wasn't any weaker than Dongli Qingqing. The other was a nirvana cultivator who was a terrifying nirvana cultivator. Behind these 2 nirvana supremacy, a dozen more figures arrived in the plaza. Their auras fluctuated, and they were neither humans nor beasts, but demons. The first was a beautiful woman. She was Hong An, who was familiar with Huang Ling, in the legalism realm. As the supremacy of the void crossed, the supremacy tomb became dimmer and dimmer. The entrance was also dimming, and the ancient aura that crossed through time and space became weaker and weaker. The supremacy tomb was about to completely close. You've lost. What else can you use to resist? Moksha shouted. He couldn't waste any more time. At this moment, he was the only one standing in the void. His entire body was filled with monstrous demonic aura, and he emitted a destructive might. A hand seal in his hand contained a great momentum, and it emitted a heavenly sound. It carried the phenomenon of stars shifting as it slammed towards Du Xiaofu. This palm caused the void to tremble. Its power was too terrifying, and all living creatures were overwhelmed with shock. At this moment, some living creatures were looking at Du Xiaofu from afar. They were like candles swaying in the wind, about to be extinguished in the face of a hurricane. Chapter 1697. Crack crack, the surrounding void was also filled with cracks, revealing a pitch-black light that suppressed Du Xiaofu with a destructive force. I wonder if a perfected Grand Sovereign or an 8 trigrams is stronger. At this moment, Du Xiaofu wasn't worried at all. His hand seals were condensed, and with a thought, the ancient runes around his body suddenly rippled. At this moment, an 8 trigrams diagram suddenly appeared in the void around Du Xiaofu. Boom! The void trembled, and the 8 trigrams diagram connected with each other, turning into a dazzling divine ring that spread out in all directions. An immense power instantly descended upon the square. In just a short moment, when the 8 trigrams diagram appeared, Moksha's perfected Grand Sovereign's nirvana aura that enveloped Du Xiaofu was suddenly pushed aside. Roar! In an instant, the 8 trigrams diagram around Du Xiaofu was filled with the cries of thousands of beasts, the descent of lightning, the evolution of mountains and lakes, the alternation of wind, rain, thunder, and lightning, the changes of the sun, moon, and stars, the shifting of mountains and rivers, and the flapping of the wings of the golden-winged great pine. When the 8 trigrams diagram appeared, Moksha's eyes suddenly changed color. His destructive palm fell, but was blocked by the 8 trigrams diagram in the void, and was then dissolved by the ancient runes. Moksha's eyes trembled, and his eyes, which were wrapped in demonic chi, trembled violently. There was an aura in the strange diagram that suddenly made him tremble. The aura was vast and boundless, and it descended upon his heart for no reason. He had never seen such a vast aura before. Rumble, at this moment, Du Xiaojing, who had been refining his divine soul with lightning, finally stopped. He opened his eyes, and lightning flashed. 10 divine rings appeared in the sky, and the sound of heaven exploded, as if thousands of war drums were beating at the same time. Who dares to touch my brother? Du Xiaojing soared into the sky, and 10 divine rings appeared in the sky. That was the might of an innate sacred venerable, and his eyes were as bright as lightning, with lightning rippling in them. At this moment, the thunder martial vein covered the surface of Du Xiaojing's body. His aura was vast and boundless. Moksha's expression changed. Facing an innate holy venerate, he felt absolute pressure. Moreover, Du Xiaofu was here. Xiaojing, drunkard dad, wait for me in the supreme tomb. Let's go. Du Xiaofu spoke. The supreme being tomb was about to close. If they didn't enter now, they wouldn't have many chances left. Xiaojing, let's enter the supreme tomb first. Du Tingxian said. He had no intention of interfering in the battle in the void. That was his son. If he had to fight him together, then he would not be his son, and he would not be Du Tingxian. Brother, be careful. Du Xiaojing hesitated for a moment before nodding. Then, he leaped towards the entrance of the supreme tomb that was gradually closing. Then let's continue. As Du Xiaofu spoke, he had already formed a seal in his hands. The entire void was rippling. With him as the center, the 8 trigrams in the void continued to expand. Du Xiaofu stood in the middle of the 8 trigrams like a holy spirit in the sky. Hand seals continued to form as the 8 trigrams changed, deduced, and derived. At the same time, Du Xiaofu muttered something under his breath. Upper Kuan and Lower Li, Earth Fire Bright E break. Upper Qian and Lower Dui, Heavenly Luo trigrams break. Upper Qian and Lower Li, Heavenly Luo trigrams break. Du Xiaofu spoke, and a series of strange hand seals condensed. At the same time, the 8 trigrams changed, and a vast pressure was revealed in the void. Rumble, all of a sudden, lightning stars appeared in the sky. Raging flames burned, and mountains and rivers moved. The void was collapsing. The destructive aura shrouded this part of the world. The entire space of the divine realm seemed to be affected at this moment. The earth shook and the mountains shook. Heaven and earth were resonating. Bright runes were like the sea, surging with stormy waves. Under this terrifying force of heaven and earth, Moksha's nirvana power enveloped the void. It began to tremble and was on the verge of collapse. Heaven above and earth below, heavenly thunder destruction. Du Xiaofu's hand seals changed again. Waves appeared on the 8 trigrams again. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Bright runes intertwined and traversed the universe. Finally, the nirvana power of Moksha's nirvana cracked. Divine light erupted in the void. The 10 divine rings suddenly began to dim. The surrounding void was collapsing inch by inch and was annihilated. Du Xiaofu broke out. His eyes were purple and gold like lightning. The 8 trigrams around him shone brightly. He rushed out, gathered a palm, and slammed it towards Moksha. This palm was accompanied by the 8 trigrams. Runes intertwined, and all kinds of strange phenomena appeared in the sky. It turned into a bright light screen. It was as if the world was shaking. This palm was too terrifying. It caused the heaven and earth to roar. Accompanied by the force of heaven and earth, the light screen covered the sky. It was as if the Holy Spirit had descended. At this moment, Du Xiaofu seemed to have merged with heaven and earth. Carrying the billowing might of heaven, he went straight for Moksha, making it impossible for him to dodge. Moksha didn't dodge. The dim 10 divine rings were still shining. They gathered into a fist and lingered around it. Demonic aura surged and burst out a dazzling light. Finally, they collided together. Qi La, unexpectedly, there wasn't much noise from this collision. But in an instant, divine light shone brightly in a vast aura poured into the void. Ka. Under the horrified gazes, the 10 divine rings around Moksha's fist shattered inch by inch. Around Du Xiaofu's palm, the 8 trigrams, which carried the force of heaven and earth, also cracked. That terrifying scene seemed to have torn the void apart. Puff, Mo Sha spat out a mouthful of blood as his body was sent flying. Du Xiaofu's mouth was also bleeding. At the same time, a flowing light flashed out from between his eyebrows. His figure flashed across the void quickly. Thunderbolts burst out from his palm and suppressed the thunder martial vein. It densely covered the void and imprisoned the soul-destroying heavenly thunder soul seed in the void. At this moment, the soul-destroying heavenly thunder soul seed seemed to be instinctively afraid. Dazzling thunderbolts burst out and immediately tried to break free from Du Xiaofu's imprisonment. But it was too late. The soul-destroying heavenly thunder soul seed was trapped in the void by Du Xiaofu. Qi. Moksha, who was forced back and spat out blood, stretched out his palm in panic. Demonic energy and the power of spiritual thunder burst out and twisted the void in front of his eyebrows. An invisible flowing light appeared and revealed a bright long needle. This long needle fluctuated with electric arcs and quietly pierced through the void. It could kill people silently. This was the soul-destroying spiritual needle that Du Xiaofu had refined. But it couldn't escape from Moksha's prying eyes. He blocked it and crushed the long needle. At the same time, Moksha's face turned gloomy. In the void in front of him, the soul-destroying heavenly thunder soul seed was about to fall into Du Xiaofu's hands. He wanted to stop it, but it was already too late. Qi. Without any hesitation, Moksha's figure instantly rushed towards the supreme tomb. The entrance was almost closed. Countless creatures were still fighting for the last time after the supreme martial artists crossed. It was extremely tragic and the battle was boiling. Get lost. Moksha crossed. Demonic energy overflowed into the sky. His whole body became bright again, as if he had used some kind of secret technique. His speed was even faster than lightning. Wherever he passed, the void collapsed. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. It was as if the universe had turned upside down. Bang, 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 the surrounding creatures couldn't stop him. They were shattered one after another, and blood rained down from the sky. In an instant, Moksha was close to the supreme tomb. Whoosh! Du Xiaofu imprisoned the soul-destroying heavenly thunder soul seed. He flapped his wings and flew forward. Compared to when he was in Moksha, his speed was even faster. You will pay the price. Moksha sneered. As if he was already prepared in his heart, he waved his hand and a vast demonic energy flew out. It instantly exploded and shattered the void. Rumble, this terrifying demonic energy exploded. Energy surged, the space was turbulent, and the heaven and earth trembled. A terrifying force swept towards Du Xiaofu. Break! Du Xiaofu burst out with purple-gold lightning. His body crossed the void, and under that terrifying force, faint golden blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. But in this short moment, Moksha had already entered the entrance of the Supreme Tomb. The Supreme Tomb is not fated with you. You and I will fight another day. Moksha sneered. After Mo Qi entered last, the Supreme Tomb was completely closed. Du Xiaofu was stopped. He was only slow for a moment, but it was too late. Boom, the Supreme Being's tomb, which seemed to be in a parallel world, finally disappeared like a mirage. The mysterious runes on the stone platform in the square also began to dim. Everything calmed down like the wind. Du Xiaofu stood in front of the entrance of the Supreme Tomb. He was half a step slower, but he had already missed it. Chapter 1698. Damn it, I was just a step slower. Damn it, if it wasn't for the people from Tianmen stopping me, I would have entered the tomb. From today onwards, I won't let the people from Tianmen off. Seeing the supreme tomb disappear, the eyes of countless living beings dimmed. Some of them were furious, and their hearts were filled with regret. This was the last time the divine domain opened, and the supreme tomb would never appear again. It was rumored that the greatest opportunity in the divine domain had already passed them by, and they had no chance of entering it. The demon king Du Xiaofu also didn't enter. Many people also noticed Du Xiaofu at the first moment. The terrifying demon king, one of the strongest existences in his generation, also didn't enter the supreme tomb. He fought against the devil religion's moksha and obtained the spiritual thunder soul seed, but he missed the chance to enter the supreme tomb. The spiritual thunder soul seed or the chance to enter the supreme tomb, I wonder which one is the most worthwhile. Someone discussed in a low voice. Even the demon king Du Xiaofu didn't enter the supreme tomb. This made those who didn't enter the supreme tomb suddenly feel a little better. The number of people who entered the supreme tomb this time is the highest. There should be no less than 200 to 300 people. It's rumored that the number of people who entered the supreme tomb in the past was at most less than 100. This is the last time the divine domain opened, and there are changes everywhere. Some of the older members of the major clans spoke, some were regretful, and some were excited. There were disciples of the major clans who entered the supreme tomb, but they regretted that they didn't have the opportunity to enter, and couldn't compete with the younger generation. Thinking about it, the desolate country has the highest number of people who entered. At the beginning, the supreme tomb didn't move, but the 18 heavenly guards and the others already swept the entire place. Everyone discussed, and many figures came to Du Xiaofu's side. They were all disciples and experts from Tianwu Academy, Hehuan School, Desolate Country, and the Golden-Winged Rock Race. We missed it. The Master Apothecary Yi Wuming spoke. The child of the Divine Matrix, Zhen Qingchen, had entered the Supreme Tomb, but he had not. Du Xiaofu turned around and looked at the remaining people. There weren't many people from the Desolate Nation, Heavenly Beast Hall, Golden-Winged Rock Race, and Hehuan School that had entered the Supreme Tomb. However, Big Sister Du Xiaoman, Second Brother Du Yunlong, 18 Celestial Guards, Ghost Chariot, Qin Demon, Little Ying Ying, Violent Bear King, Little Qin, Little Tiger, General, Gu Xinyan, Lin Weiqi, and Eastern Diao had all entered. Second Martial Ant Yu Xianzi and Sixth Martial Ant Purple Tianzuan had also entered. In addition, Senior Brothers Sima Taxing and Su Mayan should have also entered the Supreme Tomb. However, Ghost Baby, Tao Yu, Ji Jian, the Laughing Rakshasa, Tang Miling, and the Black Dragon King did not enter. Du Xiaofu had been paying attention to the intense battle to enter the Supreme Tomb. The 9 great clans, the Phoenix race, and other top forces were all making their moves together. It was easy to imagine how difficult it would be to break through. Sweeping his gaze across the entire place, Du Xiaofu immediately had an idea in his heart. In comparison, the desolate nation was not at a disadvantage in terms of the number of people who had entered the Supreme Tomb. Xiaofu, entering the Supreme Tomb does not guarantee that you will be able to fight for opportunities. There are also great dangers. Rumor has it that the tomb is specially used to bury supreme beings. It is not necessarily a bad thing. Gu Qingyang stepped forward. His white robe fluttered slightly and his white beard fluttered. He had the demeanor of a peerless expert. However, when he opened his mouth to speak, it affected his image. Master, I am fine. Du Xiaofu smiled at his master Gu Qingyang. He knew that his master was comforting him. He was afraid that he would not be able to let go of his worries before entering the Supreme Tomb. Although he was unable to enter the Supreme Tomb, Du Xiaofu was indeed extremely regretful. Before this, he did not fight for opportunities in the divine domain. He was walking his own path. However, it was said that the greatest opportunity in the Supreme Tomb was something that Du Xiaofu did not want to miss. He wanted to fight for it. However, in the end, he missed it and did not enter the Supreme Tomb. Although he was regretful, Du Xiaofu was not that worried. If he continued to search for opportunities in the divine domain, he would not be able to comprehend the 8 trigrams profound. No matter how great the opportunity was, could it be compared to moksha's nirvana of the great perfection realm? That was an unknown. From the current situation, Du Xiaofu knew that walking his own path was undoubtedly the right choice. Not being able to enter the Supreme Tomb was a regret, and it was also the will of the heavens. It's good that junior brother does not take it to heart. The path of cultivation is one's own. In the current younger generation, legalism, dragons, school of vertical and horizontal have countless resources. Qin Wudi, Long San, and the others are not junior brother's opponents. Therefore, no matter how great the opportunity is, cultivation is still one's own. Jian Santong, Yu Wanli, and the others stepped forward and said to Du Xiaofu. "Thank you for your teachings, senior brother." Du Xiaofu nodded. "Kid, don't make fun of us." Yu Wanli, Jian Santong, and the others' faces turned red. How could they have the qualifications to teach in front of this guy? But at this moment, they were praising in their hearts. Their master did not misjudge this junior brother. Even with his current status and strength, junior brother had always placed the elders in his heart. In front of the elders, he did not show any arrogance or disrespect. This kind of temperament was even more precious than talent. The Supreme Tomb is already closed. According to the usual practice, they will come out in a few months at most, or a month at least. As for whether or not someone can obtain the greatest opportunity this time, that is unknown. I wonder if there will be any Nirvana sovereigns who will die this time. Gu Qingyang sighed softly. Du Xiaofu's gaze swept across the surrounding people. Looking at some familiar faces, and then at the Supreme Tomb that disappeared, he said to his master Gu Qingyang and Master Apothecary Yi Wuming, "Master, old Yi, I will go into seclusion alone for a period of time." "Okay, be careful. Although this is the center of the God domain, there are still many dangerous places in the entire God domain," Gu Qingyang said. He was not afraid that his disciple would meet any strong experts. In this God domain, there was probably no one who could do anything to him. However, there were still many dangerous places in the God domain. Every step was dangerous, so he had to be careful. Du Xiaofu nodded. Soon after, he sensed that there were still some strange people from the devil religion in this square, and they were quietly trying to leave. Without any hesitation, Du Xiaofu's figure flashed out and directly pounced towards the devil religion. He had a great enmity with them. These people from the devil religion had already quietly retreated, but they did not manage to avoid the calamity. None of these people from the devil religion were a match for Du Xiaofu. They were all killed by Du Xiaofu in an instant, and they could not even escape. Some people recognized these people from the devil religion. They were all people of the older generation who had disappeared from Kyushu for a long time. They did not expect that they would all become members of the devil religion. After killing the few people from the devil religion, Du Xiaofu then chatted with his master, Old Yi, Tang Miling and the others for a while before flying away. He missed the Supreme Tomb, so he wanted to go into seclusion. He did not expect that he would fall behind those Supremes who entered the Supreme Tomb. Gu Qingyang said. He more or less knew about his disciple. Let's disperse. The Supreme Tomb has already closed. Go and look for other opportunities. When those Supremes and Supremes who entered the Supreme Tomb come out, everyone will be pushed out. There must be other opportunities in the God domain. This is the last time the God domain opens. It's the last chance. The God domain is suitable for cultivation. I want to spend some time comprehending it. Hopefully, I can take another step forward. On the square, some people began to disperse and no longer gathered in the square. After a few hours, Du Xiaofu appeared in a hidden abyss. Relying on the redbone horse monkey's talent, Du Xiaofu found a natural cave in the abyss. There was a medicinal fragrance in the cave, and there was also a spiritual pool filled with multicolored light. Bathing in the spiritual pool could cleanse the body. It was enough to speed up the recovery of an ordinary living being's injured body. It also had the effect of washing the bones and washing the marrow. However, this spiritual liquid was of no use to Du Xiaofu, who had an indestructible Xian body. Du Xiaofu was only looking for a paradise to go into seclusion for a while. Although he did not enter the supreme tomb, Du Xiaofu still had the soul-extinguishing thunder soul seed in his body. He wanted to try fusing with it. If his primordial spirit could fuse with another soul seed, although it was dangerous, once he succeeded, Du Xiaofu knew that he would be able to obtain great benefits again. The strength of his primordial spirit would also increase by a lot. However, Du Xiaofu did not plan to fuse with the soul-extinguishing thunder soul seed immediately. Instead, he planned to go into seclusion to comprehend for a while. Chapter 1699. The recent series of supreme martial artists' duels, Lian Qingrong, Tian Sha, Tian Lang, Qin Wudi, and Mo Sha, were all accumulations for Du Xiaofu. Du Xiaofu had gained a lot of insights from the repeated battles, and he had benefited greatly. It was like a battle between two chess experts. It was a fierce battle, but in the end, both sides were able to benefit from it. In terms of insights, Du Xiaofu's comprehension had always been outstanding. Otherwise, how could he comprehend the way of the overbearing fist, way of the overbearing qi, way of the overbearing sword, and so on? Ever since he left the Stone City, his name had shaken Kyushu in just a dozen years. He suppressed his peers from the 9 great clans, and even recently comprehended the 8 trigrams profound. Such talent and elegance was enough to lead the glory of the ancient era when the Supremes were fighting for supremacy. He was able to compete with the Supremes of the ancient era. At this moment, Du Xiaofu planned to heal his injuries, cultivate and comprehend. Du Xiaofu had never fought with so many experts of the same generation like he did in the divine domain. Especially in the final battle with Moksha, he used all his strength. At this moment, Du Xiaofu recalled and understood. The recent battles had given Du Xiaofu some insights. Since he couldn't enter the supreme tomb, he would consume these insights and comprehend them in his heart. Comprehend calmly, consolidate his foundation, and pave the way for improving his realm. Forge his true self to the extreme. This was what Du Xiaofu wanted to do now. True self-nirvana. This realm was not difficult for people to understand its true mysteries. Finding the true self and forging it was an important realm on the path of cultivation. After setting up a restriction, he summoned the ancient desolate space and sat cross-legged. Du Xiaofu healed his injuries and comprehended. In the battle with Moksha, Du Xiaofu also suffered injuries. Although they were not serious, they were not light either. However, for Du Xiaofu, with the immortal Xian body, it was not a big problem. Walala, a moment later, golden light rippled around Du Xiaofu's body as golden talisman runes appeared. After that, Du Xiaofu immersed himself in his comprehension in this hidden abyss within the desolate ancient space. He wanted to calm himself down and go into seclusion to comprehend for a period of time. Time slowly passed. The appearance of the Supreme Being tomb caused an uproar within the divine domain. Intense battles broke out. The group of heavenly geniuses fought against each other, shocking everyone. Especially the appearance of numerous grand exalted nirvanas, it caused the heavens and the earth to rumble, and it caused all the top figures of the younger generation in the world to prostrate themselves in worship. And the most shocking was the demon king, Du Xiaofu. Du Tingxian had killed Qin Wudi and Gongsun Wuji. The battle was truly shocking. The strength and ferocity of Du Xiaoyao and the little dragon girl had also left an indelible mark in the depths of everyone's minds. The final battle between the demon king, Du Xiaofu, and the devil religion, Moksha, was still a hot topic after it ended. After the opening and closing of the Supreme Being tomb, the suppression is still weakening. It's getting smaller and smaller. On a towering mountain, an old man spoke. His eyes were filled with doubt and joy. Such a situation was undoubtedly extremely advantageous for the older generation of powerhouses like them. Are there any changes in your realms? An old man asked the disciples of his sect who had not reached the initial domain of the martial domain realm. No, it's still the initial domain of the martial domain realm. A young disciple replied. Unbelievable. It must be the final opening of the divine domain that caused a complete change. An old man said excitedly. In the Chen Huang mainland, everyone was solemn, nervous, and expectant. From the mouths of those who had been sent out by the life-saving talismans, the various forces and experts of the Chen Huang mainland were the first to know about the opening of the Supreme Being tomb. The news of the Nirvana sovereigns gushing out from the various forces also spread out, causing the various forces to be shocked. And when the large group of Nirvana sovereigns from the Huang country appeared, it also caused the experts of the Chen Huang mainland to be shocked. There are complete Nirvana sovereigns and innate sacred sovereigns appearing. Oh my God, they are all monsters. Complete Nirvana sovereigns, innate sacred sovereigns, legendary existences have also appeared in this world. The various forces were shocked. None of them were unmoved. The appearance of such a monstrous figure was definitely able to shoulder the great fortune of a clan. Who would have thought that the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, actually did not enter the Supreme Being tomb? Not being able to enter the Supreme Being tomb means that they have lost the qualification to fight for the greatest opportunity. What a pity. Legalism's Han Qianran is also dead. Legalism's previous efforts have been wasted this time. It said that the innate holy sovereign Du Xiaojing is from the school of legalism. She's also the younger sister of the devil king Du Xiaofu, Du Tingshuan's daughter. Legalism seems to have hidden itself quite well. While everyone was in shock and anticipation, many discussions were spreading throughout the Chen Huang mainland. Du Xiaofu missed the greatest opportunity. It's a pity. The old lady spoke. Missing the greatest opportunity to fight for the Supreme Being tomb was a pity. No wonder legalism didn't even retain Du Xiaofu's Nirvana sovereigns back then. It turns out that there was a hidden Du Xiaojing. Old Monster Xing Hun said. Du Xiaojing was an innate sacred sovereign. She has always been hidden by legalism. From the attitude of Du Tingxian and Du Xiaofu, the legalism is most afraid that Du Tingxian and Du Xiaofu would affect Du Xiaojing. They would rather kill Du Xiaojing. Innate sacred sovereigns are what they value the most. Bing Mo said. Little bastard, if you fall into my hands, I'll make sure you don't even have a corpse left. On a towering mountain peak in the distance, Li Chunfa's eyes were spitting fire. His aura collapsed for no reason, causing the clouds to move. In the end, Han Qianran was also killed. This destroyed one of legalism's hopes. Moreover, Han Qianran had endured so much pressure in the divine dominion, and had even reached the half-step nirvana sovereign level. It was enough to show that his potential was limitless. Innate sacred sovereign. Du Xiaojing's existence is the reason why legalism let the father and son go back then. Gong Sunhua's expression was uncertain. The school of vertical and horizontal had always suspected this, but he didn't expect legalism to have an innate sacred sovereign hidden. Moreover, she was the daughter of Du Tingxian and Han Aodong. At this moment, the school of vertical and horizontal supremes in the divine dominion had all been wiped out. Although legalism had also suffered heavy losses, it wouldn't lose out to the school of vertical and horizontal. However, they still had one innate sacred sovereign, and she was Du Tingshuan's daughter and Du Xiaofu's sister. This was definitely not a good thing for the school of vertical and horizontal. In fact, Gong Sunhua couldn't help but suspect that if legalism pulled Du Tingxian and Du Xiaofu into legalism, together with the large group of Nirvana sovereigns, then the school of vertical and horizontal would suffer heavy losses, while legalism would gain great benefits. That would be the greatest loss for the school of vertical and horizontal. However, Gong Sunhua was just thinking about it. With Du Xiaofu and Du Tingxuan's murderous intent towards legalism, it was unlikely that they would be recruited. He was just afraid that legalism would lower its head to rope in Du Tingxian and his son, and use Han Aodong to persuade them. Then, the outcome would be difficult to predict. Gong Sunhua, that's not the point. Li Chunfa didn't want to be entangled with Gong Sunhua on this matter. This was indeed one of the reasons. He transmitted his voice to Gong Sunhua and Long Teng. This is a godsend opportunity. Du Xiaofu, that little bastard, hasn't entered the Supreme Tomb. He's still in the Divine Dominion. As long as we can enter, we can definitely kill him. Otherwise, he'll be a real threat to us. I've been testing the Divine Dominion. Ever since the Supreme Tomb opened, the confinement has been getting smaller and smaller. Long Ting transmitted his voice. Dragons were gifted in the aspect of souls. This was his forte. In this aspect, he surpassed Li Chunfa and Gong Sunhua. My school of vertical and horizontal has received news that the forces we can use inside are getting larger and larger. Now, it's almost no longer suppressed. Gong Sun Yen transmitted her voice to Long Teng. Dragons have horns of the true dragon. They can resist the suppression of the Divine Dominion. I believe they must have other treasures, right? This, Long Teng's eyes trembled. He had already determined that the true dragon horns on Dragon 3 and Dragon 4 had fallen into the hands of that little bastard Du Xiaofu. That was the clan treasure of the dragons. They had already suffered heavy losses. Even if they took out other treasures, the dragons weren't a treasure trove. Treasures like the true dragon horns weren't something the dragons could have. Long Teng, even if we have a way to enter, our cultivation will still be suppressed in the Divine Dominion. We won't be able to kill that little bastard. All our previous efforts will be wasted. If the dragons have any treasures, then take them out. When we kill that little bastard, the true dragon horns will still belong to you dragons. Otherwise, it won't be good for the three of us, Gong Sunhua said to Long Teng. The true dragon horns are definitely on that little bastard. When the time comes, it will naturally belong to the dragons. If the dragons still have treasures that can be used in the Divine Dominion, then we will have absolute confidence in killing that little bastard, Li Chunfa transmitted his voice. The dragons do have one more thing. It won't be under the true dragon horns. Most importantly, it can resist the suppression of the Divine Dominion. Long Teng gritted his teeth and nodded. If he could get the true dragon horns back, then it would be killing two birds with one stone. He then transmitted his voice to Li Chunfa and Gong Sunhua. Qin Tian asked, "Do you have a way to enter? If anything happens, we won't be able to bear the consequences. If we enter, I'm afraid we'll attract the attention of the golden-winged rocks, the Mahist family, the School of Agriculture, and the School of Yin Yang. Faced with the suppression of the Divine Dominion, cultivators who exceeded the boundary would be excluded. Those who forced their way in would be killed immediately." Li Chunfa had been attacked before, so Long Teng couldn't help but be wary. The suppression of the Divine Dominion is getting weaker and weaker. We don't have to go in personally. As long as we're careful, the golden-winged rocks and the School of Agriculture won't notice anything amiss. Just to be safe, I'll give it a try. If I succeed, then it'll be the end of that little bastard. He'll die without a doubt. Gong Sunhua gritted his teeth, a chill shooting out from between his teeth. Inside the Divine Dominion, everything was changing. The suppression of the Divine Dominion was getting weaker and weaker. Some of the old and strong independent cultivators were gradually able to use their full strength. Throughout the Divine Dominion, many ancient formations had appeared. Some dangerous places had mutated, and some well-hidden ancient ruins had appeared. The Divine Dominion was in an uproar again. The competition between the various parties had reached a desperate stage, and countless living beings had been killed. At the bottom of the abyss, Du Xiaofu's figure walked out. His face was ruddy, and he had changed into a purple robe. He stood with his hands behind his back. A gentle breeze blew, and his robe and hair fluttered. His entire demeanor was different from before, and he gave off a feeling of simplicity. It had been 3 months in the ancient barren space, which was equivalent to 10 days in the divine dominion. Du Xiaofu's injuries were completely healed, and he had recovered to his peak condition. Du Xiaofu had fully comprehended all the insights that he had accumulated during this period of time. He had made new progress in the nirvana stage of the true self. But it was still not enough. So Du Xiaofu walked out of the ancient barren space and went outside. He wanted to walk in the divine dominion and cultivate like he had before. Walala, a mountain range exploded into pieces. A rain of light poured down, and a dazzling light filled the area. The aura shot into the clouds, and it was filled with an ancient aura. An ancient land had reappeared. Wang, within a mountain stream, the sound of wind and thunder could be heard. It was like the sound of Sanskrit. Endless runes fluctuated in the air. That was the opening of an ancient ruin. The appearance of these ruins attracted all living creatures. There were opportunities, but there were also great dangers. Du Xiaofu did not participate. He just walked in a secluded and barren land. Sometimes, Du Xiaofu stood in front of a mountain in a daze. Sometimes, he stood on a river, motionless, allowing the tides to rise and fall. Sometimes, he stood on a plain and welcomed the howling winds. He did not move at all every time he was in a daze. Du Xiaofu's simple temperament seemed to become more obvious. But the light in his eyes became brighter, and his skin became more and more flawless. The sun was setting in the west. Du Xiaofu walked on the mountain range. Looking from afar, on the majestic and vast mountain range, there was a small figure, but it dragged a long shadow. When the sun had completely set, a group of stars appeared in the sky, shining brightly. On the mountain peak, Du Xiaofu raised his head slightly. His eyes surged with starlight. He sat cross-legged, and the starlight around him rippled. Walala, in the night sky, the stars seemed to be attracted. The river of stars shone brighter and brighter, as if there were stars approaching. The mountain peak released a dreamy light, and there was a vast aura descending. Little you, please continue writing. Everyone, please forgive me. Chapter 1700. Starlight rippled in the sky, and a vast aura surged. The mountains shook, and the surrounding creatures were shocked, not daring to get close. The next morning, when Du Xiaofu withdrew the starlight around him, the remnant stars in the sky also gradually disappeared. Du Xiaofu opened his eyes, and starlight rippled in them. Then, he got up again and continued his cultivation. Whoosh whoosh, in a sea of clouds, Du Xiaofu used his hand as a sword, and the sword light cut through the void, cutting through the sea of clouds. At the peak of a mountain, Du Xiaofu spread his wings, and the golden wings of the rock flapped, causing a storm. It was as if he had transformed into a rock in human form, and golden light filled the sky as he spread his wings and soared. A few days later, at the peak of the towering mountain, waves appeared in the sea of clouds. Du Xiaofu sat cross-legged, and his body was enveloped in golden light. Golden talisman patterns flickered, as if there were small golden snakes shuttling back and forth. On Du Xiaofu's back, where the rock's golden wings were pulled out by legalism, was now emitting a golden light. This light screen was undoubtedly brighter than before, as if something was about to break out of his body. What a strange feeling, so hot, so painful. This feeling made Du Xiaofu feel a piercing pain, as if something was about to break out of his body and tear his back apart. His bones were changing, and his blood was boiling. Recently, when he was comprehending the rock's beast energy, Du Xiaofu realized that the reaction on his back was getting stronger, as if his body was mutating. Could it be? Suddenly, Du Xiaofu opened his eyes, and golden light shot out from his eyes. He said joyfully, "Could it be that I'm about to grow a pair of rock's golden wings?" This thought turned in Du Xiaofu's mind, and the feeling was too similar. As a human, Du Xiaofu cultivated the techniques of the rock race, and with the blood and bones of the rock race, he could naturally become one. However, Du Xiaofu was still somewhat different from a real golden-winged rock when it came to using the beast energy of the golden-winged rock race. The speed and ferocity of the real golden-winged rock were driven by its wings. It was already a miracle that Du Xiaofu could achieve what he had now. However, if he wanted to perfectly activate the true rock's beast energy, he would be naturally affected. This is the evolution of the golden-winged great rock. It is the effect of the golden-winged great rock's blood essence and bones. Perhaps it will succeed. Du Xiaofu made a decision in his heart. It was as if he had made a major discovery. He immediately sank into silence. Walala, Du Xiaofu was experimenting. His body was covered with dazzling golden talisman runes. His whole body was wrapped in circles of golden light, and the vast sea of clouds in the surroundings shone with golden light. A tyrannical and ferocious aura spread out. Countless golden talisman runes flashed out, carrying the tyrannical aura of the golden-winged great rock race. Then, those densely packed golden talisman runes directly lined up behind Du Xiaofu and condensed into a phantom of the golden-winged great rock. This phantom of the golden-winged great rock seemed to have been injected with life. It spread its wings and soared into the sky. Du Xiaofu also entered a strange state. He felt that he was like a real golden-winged great rock at this moment. Pale golden blood flowed in Du Xiaofu's body. There was blood essence boiling on his back, and the bones there were also undergoing huge changes. This kind of change was very terrifying. Ordinary people would not be able to withstand it at all. It was enough to torture them to death with broken bones. However, Du Xiaofu was different. He had the indestructible Xian body. The bones in his back were changing. Although it was painful and uncomfortable, under the effect of the indestructible Xian body, he could change and endure it. This was also a kind of miraculous coincidence. At this moment, if Du Xiaofu's body did not have the indestructible Xian body, he definitely would not be able to endure the changes of his bones. Boom! Behind Du Xiaofu, the phantom of the golden-winged great rock changed unpredictably. At one moment it wanted to flap its wings and soar into the sky. At the next moment, it looked like it was looking down on all living things. Then, it turned into talisman runes again, and then it lined up and condensed again. In this state, Du Xiaofu calmed his heart and comprehended. He continued the comprehension of the golden-winged great rock race from the true rock secret realm. At this moment, Du Xiaofu was deep in exploration, exploring the vast golden-winged great rock beast energy and comprehending everything. Rumble. Rumble. Not long after, a faint rumbling sound was emitted from the mountain peak. A terrifying pressure swept out, and a terrifying scene appeared above the sea of clouds. A huge golden-winged great rock flapped its wings above the sea of clouds, shaking the sky and tearing the sea of clouds apart. Heavens, what is that? It's the golden-winged great rock. Far away from the mountains, someone looked up at the sky. There, golden light filled the air, and a terrifying scene appeared. Looking at it from afar, it made one's heart tremble. Immersed in the comprehension of the true rock beast energy, Du Xiaofu seemed to see the sky shaking. A terrifying golden-winged great rock crossed the river of stars and shook the 9 heavens. It could destroy stars one by one, and its screech shook the 9 heavens. It was incomparably terrifying. Is it someone from the golden-winged great rock race? In the distant sky, on the cliff of a canyon, there was a seal that cracked and dissolved. Then, a man in green clothes drilled out. The man looked at the distant void in front of him. He was wearing a green patterned robe. His shoulder-length hair danced in the wind, and his skin glowed. Runes fluctuated on his skin, and the phantom of the golden-winged great rock appeared. The strange scene in the sky made his eyes ripple. Du Xiaofu, you are the one who provoked me. The man had a sharp temperament. His thick eyebrows were slightly raised, and his face was resolute. However, at this moment, his eyes were emitting a bit of coldness. He was Heavenly Wolf Mo Tian Shao. Back then, he was severely injured by Du Xiaofu. He had been hiding in seclusion to heal his injuries, and had just come out. Looking at the phantom of the golden-winged great rock in the distant void, Mo Tian Shao felt a bit apprehensive. If it was Du Xiaofu, he wouldn't want to get close to him. However, he had suffered such a big loss last time, and now that the supreme tomb had opened, he had no chance to fight for it. He had lost the opportunity that he had prepared for thousands of years. How could Mo Tian Shao not be angry? If it was another golden-winged great rock, Mo Tian Shao would have attacked right now. Even if he didn't dare to openly kill a golden-winged great rock for fear of provoking those experts of the older generation of the golden-winged great rock race, he could at least vent his anger. The supreme tomb should have already been opened. It can't be Du Xiaofu. Mo Tian Shao said to himself in his heart. He had been in seclusion for quite some time to recuperate from his injuries. The supreme tomb must have already opened. With Devil King Du Xiaofu's abnormal strength, who else could stop him from entering the supreme tomb? At this moment, Mo Tian Shao felt that the golden-winged great rock image in the distance was definitely a mysterious phenomenon caused by a great rock of the golden-winged great rock race. Perhaps it obtained some benefits and was breaking through. Thinking of this, the corners of Mo Tian Shao's mouth curled up into a cold smile. If the golden-winged Great Peng Clan's Great Peng Clan was making a breakthrough after obtaining the benefits, he would likely be able to cause the Great Peng Clan's chi to go berserk or cut off the benefits. That would be a great way to vent his anger. Whoosh! Finally, Mo Tian Shao made up his mind. He soared into the sky. He wanted to take action. Even if he couldn't deal with Du Xiaofu, he wanted to vent his anger. The sea of clouds around the mountain peak was already dyed in a golden color. On the mountain peak, the golden light around Du Xiaofu's body was even more dazzling. The mysterious runes on his body fluctuated and emitted a strange cracking sound. It was as if something was about to drill out from his body. Ah, the blood essence on his back was boiling like boiling water. The transformation of his bones intensified. Du Xiaofu couldn't help but let out a miserable shriek. Walala, but at the same time, the light on Du Xiaofu's back exploded. The golden light surged, and his clothes were torn apart. A resplendent golden blood light spurted out. Then, amidst the dazzling golden light, the mysterious runes on Du Xiaofu's back seemed to come to life, rising up from the muscles on his back. The bones on Du Xiaofu's back were changing. The cracks in his bones spread out. Finally, amidst the overbearing aura, they turned into a pair of golden-winged Great Peng wings. Those were the real Great Peng's golden wings. When the wings were unfolded, lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in the void. The sea of clouds surged. These were the real Great Peng's golden wings. The resplendent golden feathers were formed from the blood essence in Du Xiaofu's body. The skeleton was formed from the cracks in his back. When the wings spread out, an overbearing aura spread out. It was as if a Great Peng had been reborn. Chapter 1701. Golden light glittered as it spread its wings. Although it still looked a little immature, like a newborn chick, Chu Foam was like a pair of wings. However, the golden rock wings were truly a part of Du Xiaofu's body. They were truly connected to his flesh, blood, tendons, and bones. At this moment, Du Xiaofu spread his wings and soared into the sky. He truly felt as if he had turned into a real golden-winged rock. It was an incomparably carefree feeling, as if he wanted to soar into the sky and soar into the sky. Whoosh, a figure flew over from the distance and appeared in the sea of clouds. His face was chiseled, and when he saw the man with a pair of wings on his back, his expression changed and his eyes trembled violently. At the same time, Du Xiaofu rose into the air, and the figure in the distance appeared in his glittering golden eyes. He felt a sharp chill, and his pupils dilated slightly. Golden light flickered, and a smile appeared on his face. Not good, it's Du Xiaofu. The figure that came was Heavenly Wolf Gu Tianxiao. When he saw that the man with the wings on his back was actually Du Xiaofu, his eyes filled with shock and fear. He immediately turned around and fled without hesitation. Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao didn't expect that the one who caused such a huge commotion was actually the Demon King, Du Xiaofu. This was completely different from what Mo Tianxiao had imagined. The Supreme Tomb should have already opened. How could the Demon King, Du Xiaofu, not enter the Supreme Tomb? Even if the Supreme Tomb hadn't opened, the Demon King should be in the plaza right now. Run, Mo Tianxiao turned around and fled without any hesitation. It's really fate that brought us together. A faint voice resounded as golden light erupted. Du Xiaofu's figure had already appeared not far behind Heavenly Wolf Mo Tianxiao. He flapped his wings and said, "Don't you want to sit down and have a good chat?" How could Mo Tianxiao dare to stop? His eyes changed and he didn't even dare to turn his head. Light erupted from his body and he instantly turned into his original form. Roar, with a sky-shaking roar, Mo Tianxiao transformed into a giant green wolf. Green light waves covered his body, and his might swept across the sky. The might of a beast supremacy spread out, and his speed instantly increased. However, no matter how fast Mo Tianxiao was, Du Xiaofu followed closely behind him like a shadow. He simply couldn't shake him off. Therefore, in many places in the divine domain, people saw a shocking scene. A terrifying giant wolf emitting green light, filled with the aura of a supreme beast, was being chased by a humanoid figure with a pair of golden light wings on his back. One wolf and one man pierced through the void, crossing over mountains, rivers, and ancient forests. Everywhere they passed, the world would change color, bringing with them terrifying storms. Du Xiaofu flapped his wings and soared into the sky, feeling unprecedentedly carefree. That kind of speed and natural agility made Du Xiaofu feel that it was at least 3 times faster than when he had the rock's golden wings. At this moment, he didn't even use the rock's journey of 10,000 miles, but he was already able to catch up with the Heavenly Wolf. One man and one wolf had been chasing for several hours. With their current speed, they had already crossed an unknown number of regions. Mo Tianxiao's expression changed more and more. He couldn't shake off Du Xiaofu for a long time, which made his heart heavy. If he had known earlier that it was Du Xiaofu, he wouldn't have dared to provoke him. Roar, suddenly, the Heavenly Wolf roared, and green light shone brightly. In an instant it turned around and waved its claw at Du Xiaofu, who was still chasing after it. The claw mark tore through the void. Break! This sudden attack didn't affect Du Xiaofu at all. He directly flapped his wings, and golden runes burst out, shattering the claw mark like a hurricane. At this moment, using the rock's golden wings to stimulate the beast energy, it was natural, and its power increased sharply. Du Xiaofu was overjoyed. Roar! The Heavenly Wolf went all out, and 6 divine rings appeared in the sky. In an instant, the Lesser Sovereign's Nirvana strength was activated, and the ferocious Heavenly Wolf fiercely pounced at Du Xiaofu. Come! Du Xiaofu flapped his wings, and the Greater Sovereign's Nirvana strength descended, completely suppressing the Heavenly Wolf. As he flapped his wings, his figure advanced instead of retreating. He waved his hand, and with the roar of a dragon and the trumpeting of an elephant, he punched the Heavenly Wolf's body. Roar, unable to resist, the Heavenly Wolf spat out a mouthful of blood. The former's terrifying punch had only destroyed the Sovereign's Nirvana strength above his head and severely injured him. How did he become stronger again? The Heavenly Wolf was aghast. He had just recovered from his injuries, and Du Xiaofu's strength seemed to have made a huge improvement compared to before. This greatly shocked the Heavenly Wolf. After not seeing Du Xiaofu for a few months, the difference between the Heavenly Wolf and the Heavenly Wolf was like heaven and earth. And now, he had just recovered from his injuries, and the former's strength had changed again. This was too frightening. Run, the Heavenly Wolf knew that if he didn't go all out, he might not be able to escape this time. The green light on his body soared, turning into a green river that swept out in all directions. The runes were dazzling, and the surrounding void was filled with green light and mysterious runes. Heavenly Wolf howls at the moon. Roar! The Heavenly Wolf raised his head and roared. Dazzling green light spurted out from his mouth, causing the void to rumble. He had once again activated the ultimate skill of the Heavenly Wolf clan. Suddenly, there seemed to be a green moon descending from the void. Countless ferocious giant wolf phantoms were leaping, and in an instant, the surrounding void was submerged. The terrifying power made people tremble. It was incomparably terrifying. The surrounding mountains exploded one after another, and the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. This was the ultimate skill of the Heavenly Wolf. It was enough to suppress his peers. Even in terms of true strength, the Heavenly Wolf Lonely Sky Howl was definitely not inferior to the Heavenly Wolf. Rumble, the void trembled, and the space rippled. The energy was so intense that it made people's souls tremble. Run! At the same time, the Heavenly Wolf repeated his old trick. He used his ultimate skill to deal with Du Xiaofu, and then used his secret technique to escape. Swish! The Heavenly Wolf Lonely Sky Howl's speed was unquestionable. Coupled with his secret technique, he escaped in an instant. But at the same time, the Heavenly Wolf's expression changed drastically. The surrounding void was distorted, and his escape secret technique had lost its effect. The void became chaotic, and the Heavenly Wolf Lonely Sky Howl was gradually confined. The ultimate skill that he had activated was also destroyed in this strange space. A strange pattern appeared in the void, shrouding the void. It was a void 8 trigrams diagram. With Du Xiaofu as the center, the void 8 trigrams diagram swept out like a divine ring. It was filled with dazzling light, and all kinds of strange phenomena surged out. There were mountains and lakes, wind and rain, thunder and lightning alternating, the sun, moon and stars changing, and mountains and rivers moving horizontally. The Heavenly Wolf roared, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free from the void 8 trigrams diagram. A vast power could directly suppress his lesser sovereign nirvana strength. Earth fire bright destruction. A voice came from the void. The void suddenly changed. Suddenly, a star of thunder and lightning descended, as well as raging flames. Heaven and earth resonated with each other. A vast and mighty energy surged through the resplendent runes like a sea, creating stormy waves that directly engulfed Sky Wolf. Bang! 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 Even the powerful Heavenly Wolf, under this terrifying power, the green scales on his body crumbled, and the green light dimmed. Puff! Puff! The Heavenly Wolf's body became smaller and smaller, and finally, he was suppressed to the size of an ordinary tiger. Blood violently spurted out from his mouth, and the wolf scales on his body crumbled. His body was covered in blood, and his fierce eyes were bloodshot. With the 8 trigrams diagram rippling around him, Du Xiaofu looked like a god in the sky. When the Heavenly Wolf activated his ultimate skill again, Du Xiaofu had already predicted the Heavenly Wolf's goal. He activated the 8 trigrams diagram, sealed the void, and imprisoned the Heavenly Wolf. Looking at Du Xiaofu, the Heavenly Wolf's blood-red eyes trembled. He knew how savage this demon king was. He was definitely someone who could do anything. Hateful, at this moment, Lonely Sky Howl was also very sullen. He had just escaped from the calamity last time, and had just recovered from his injuries. But now, he was back in trouble again. You have 2 options now. I respect that you're a lesser sovereign nirvana expert. Such talent is rarely seen in the world. You can self-detonate. Du Xiaofu looked at the heavenly wolf lonesome sky howl and smiled faintly, or maybe I'll kill you. I haven't eaten a heavenly wolf before. I wonder if your meat is more fragrant than long sands. As his voice faded, Du Xiaofu licked his lips. In contrast, the heavenly wolf's gaze was extremely ugly. It was fierce and ferocious, and its fangs were exposed. Chapter 1702. Originally, Tian Lang had planned to die with Du Xiaofu even if he had to self-detonate. However, when he heard Du Xiaofu's casual words, he suddenly felt that perhaps his self-detonation wouldn't have any effect on the Demon King. Moreover, no one wanted to self-detonate. In the end, Du Xiaofu wanted to eat him. Tian Lang definitely wouldn't doubt Du Xiaofu's ferocity. When he thought of himself, the dignified descendant of Tian Lang, being eaten by the Demon King, he couldn't help but feel his hair stand on end. Du Xiaofu, we don't have any big grudges. Why do you have to keep pestering me? Tian Lang said ferociously. His voice sounded like he was on the verge of collapse. No matter what, he was still a nirvana supremacy. In the entire divine domain, his fighting strength was ranked at the top. He originally thought that after he came out, he wouldn't be able to stir up a storm and stand proudly in the world. Who would have thought that in this divine domain, he would be defeated one after another? Now, he was in a desperate situation. You have the nerve to say that we don't have any grudges. First, you destroyed my puppet. Then, you provoked me. In the end, you even joined forces with the school of vertical and horizontal, legalism, and dragons to deal with me. This grudge is huge. Du Xiaofu looked straight at Tian Lang, his eyes flashing with golden light. What do you want? Tian Lang said in a deep voice. He paced back and forth in the chaotic void. He seemed to be secretly observing and trying to break free. You can't escape. Du Xiaofu sensed Tian Lang's motive. He smiled faintly and said, it seems like you don't want to die. Then, we can have a good talk. Talk about what? Lonely Sky Howl stared at Du Xiaofu, feeling the smile on Du Xiaofu's face, but he couldn't help but feel fear and vigilance. He felt as if he had been seen through by the Demon King. Of course, we're talking about how to prevent you from dying. Du Xiaofu put away the void 8 trigrams diagram around him, and the golden rock wings on his back disappeared as well. The golden rock wings were formed from blood essence and bone fractures. Now that they were put away, Du Xiaofu felt a stabbing pain on his back. Blood even oozed out of his back. However, his back was soon healed by the indestructible Xian body. Only 2 holes could be seen on the back of his purple robe, making it look a little shabby. However, Du Xiaofu did not care about this. At the same time, he said to Lonely Sky Wolf, I respect you, and I hope you respect me in return. Don't even think about running away. This is God's domain. You won't be able to escape. Let's sit down and have a proper chat. Tian Lang's ferocious eyes twitched as he stared at Du Xiaofu. However, under the flickering gaze of yin and yang, Tian Lang's body changed into a human form. On his angular face, he looked at Du Xiaofu warily. Don't look at me like that. I'm not a bad person to talk to. You provoked me and destroyed my puppet. You even joined forces with the dragons, school of vertical and horizontal, and legalism to deal with me. Are you going to compensate me now? Du Xiaofu asked Tian Lang with a smile. Humph. Mo Tianxiao coldly snorted. In this world where strength was revered, there was no such thing as compensation. But at this moment, his strength was inferior to Du Xiaofu's and he knew he couldn't avoid this calamity. He looked at Du Xiaofu and asked, what do you want? I'm not asking for much. Just give me a domain realm puppet and help me kill 10 domain realm cultivators from the school of legalism, the Dragon Clan, and the School of Vertical and Horizontal. Then, our grudges will be written off, Du Xiaofu said nonchalantly. That's impossible. Tian Lang shouted as he stared at Du Xiaofu. Where could he get a domain-grade puppet? Even if he used all his strength, he was not sure if he could deal with a domain-grade puppet. As for killing a few domain-level experts from the School of Legalism, the School of Vertical and Horizontal, and the Dragon Clan, he would have to pay a huge price even if he could kill one. Moreover, he had killed 10 of them. If he provoked the Dragon Clan, the School of Vertical and Horizontal, and the School of Legalism, the three major forces would not let him off. Although he was not necessarily afraid, he would not be easy to deal with if he really provoked them. At worst, he could continue to hide and not come out. However, if he provoked the three major forces for no reason and killed 10 of their domain-level experts, the three major forces would definitely fly into a rage. He was not stupid. Without a doubt, he would be setting himself up to be killed. Then there's only one other way. You have to submit to me, Du Xiaofu said. No, that's impossible. I have the bloodline of the Heavenly Wolf. How can I submit to a human like you? This is an insult to my ancestors. Tian Lang shouted as he submitted to the other party. Not to mention humans, even the dragons and phoenixes had never submitted to the Heavenly Wolf clan. Cut the crap. Let me finish. Du Xiaofu glanced at the Heavenly Wolf clan indifferently and continued, I won't disgrace the bloodline of the Heavenly Wolf clan. Join my desolate country and become the country's guardian venerable. You can suppress the territory of the desolate country and all the beasts of the Imperial Beast Hall will only be under me for 100 years. Hearing Du Xiaofu's words, Tian Lang's eyes trembled and runes fluctuated. That's my bottom line. If you can't do it, I don't mind killing you. Don't challenge my patience. I've given you a chance. You can choose whether you want to live or die. Du Xiaofu stared at Heavenly Wolf Gu Tian Xiao. In an instant, his expression turned stern. A domineering and disdainful aura surged as killing intent surged in his eyes. This was his final warning and deterrence to Gu Tian Xiao. Tian Lang sensed Du Xiaofu's aura and knew about Du Xiaofu's temper. His eyes kept twitching. After a while, he asked in a deep voice, 100 years. The country's guardian venerable of the desolate country will only be under you. That's right. You can suppress the territory of the desolate country and all the beasts of the Imperial Beast Hall. I won't disgrace the bloodline of the Heavenly Wolf clan, and I won't wrong you. After 100 years, you can come and go freely. Du Xiaofu nodded seriously. He looked at Tian Lang and said, actually, I have a beast-controlling technique that can control you directly. You won't even have the chance to self-destruct. However, I respect the bloodline of the Heavenly Wolf clan and will give you a choice. At this moment, Du Xiaofu had his own plans. If he could subdue a Nirvana paragon, he would become one of the most ferocious generals in the desolate country. What his drunkard father said was right. Beside him, he needed the support of his friends. Below him, he needed the support of his friends. Below him, he needed the support of his friends. Tian Lang was such a genius. It would be a pity to kill him. If he could truly use him, he would be a great help. His future would be limitless. Therefore, Du Xiaofu didn't want to use beast-controlling techniques on Tian Lang. Subduing him was undoubtedly the best choice. Du Xiaofu believed that 100 years would be enough for him to truly subdue Tian Lang. Otherwise, it would only prove that he was not qualified. Tian Lang looked at Du Xiaofu. His eyes twitched. After a while, he clenched his teeth and knelt on one knee in the air. He bowed and said, Greetings, Rock Emperor. Xiao Yu has to go to the train station to receive them, so he will definitely be late tonight. I'm going to take half a day off at the last minute. Don't wait for me tonight. Xiao Yu will try his best to publish tomorrow morning. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.